Islam Moors, happy holy day, and welcome to House of Reawakening Minds, geographically located in care of 602 Vandiver Avenue, Wilmington City Territory at Delaware State Republic at North America, zip exempt 19802. Sit back, relax, but get your pen and paper out so that you can study. We are reawakening minds, one mind at a time. Are you awake yet?
Islam.
Islam Moors, happy holy day.
Islam.
And welcome to House of Reawakening Minds, geographically located.
Anyway, you'll got the paper and pencil ready.
Welcome
Welcome to the House of Reawakening Minds. We're going to go over lesson book 14 slightly. How many of you were here last week when Rosmaraya did her class? Good. Great class, wasn't it?
Yes.
And one of the things that I recognized with a comment that had came through, someone was making disparaging remarks talking about she could not use AA222141. But we all know that as people begin to wake up, you will always have people who are paid trolls because they want to put the people back to sleep. Many of you who have been studying know that the great missionary work set forth by Prophet Noble in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, a major feature of the Moorish Divine National Movement is the enforcement of the Constitution for the United States, etc. When you learn the politics that has taken place at North America, you'll begin to have a clearer understanding about the abuses that have been happening to our people. However, what you do find is many people speak of it, but very few people will give you remedy. The Moorish Divine and National Movement is set forth to bring remedy, not to talk and complain about the situation. It is to bring you to a consciousness of competence and a cognizance of your responsibilities to yourselves, to your forefathers and foremothers, and to the children to come. Not only the children who are here. And I recognized long ago that watching how people respond to different things, that there was a great misunderstanding about the Moorish Divine National Movement. And those of you who've had some of my literature, you'll know that I did a book addressing the misunderstandings about the Moorish Divine National Movement. One of the things I did in relationship to enforcing the Constitution is logically recognizing why our Prophet Noble Ali registered the Moorish Temple of Science as a civic organization in 1925. And as you know, the Moorish Science Temple of America was adopted as its corporate name in 1928, which you'll see on the back of your questionnaire. The Prophet Noble Ali traveled the world, and he also, one of the important meetings that he held was in Havana, Cuba, with the rest of the representatives of the true Americans from the north to the south. Knowing that we're under colonial occupation, and knowing that many of the people in the north were falsely trained to believe that America was a country. It had to be made clear that there are many nation states at America. America's large continent that extends from the northern hemisphere to the central part of the planet into the southern hemisphere of the planet. It is a complete continent. Do not get confused with the construction of the Panama Canal, thinking that North, Central, South are separate. They are absolutely not. And they comprise the Maghreb, or what is called Morocco, the most extreme west of the Moroccan Empire, of which Hikuta, or what you call Egypt, is the capital dominion. And logically, it's important for the people to have a cognizance of both the history and law, in so much as it's necessary for them to have a mental cognizance of the territories. Because many of the people in the Western Hemisphere think that because they're in the South of America, or on one of the islands which are called Americana, that they're not Americans, because the European colonial operations have been training them the same way they do rats and animals, making them think that they were separated from the land. However, one of the things that was done by one of the adepts of the Moorish Divine National Movement, who set up humanitarian classes and schools in Ohio, in Cleveland, Charles Mosley Bay, and dealing with the issues of COINTELPRO operations infiltrating the Moorish Divine National Movement in order to slow it down or to upset it. He registered a lot of the knowledge of the Moorish nation in the Library of Congress so that the infiltrators could not tamper with it, because they've been struggling to tamper with the Prophet's information presented to the people. As an example, when you go into the microfilm in Chicago and look at the divine constitutional bylaws, etc., when the Prophet Nubu Ali was here, in particular, he makes reference to the land parcel being of ours, and that the Europeans are in agreement to operate here with the United States Trading Company. And so we have taught you earlier in many lessons about the United States Trading Company and the United States Service Corporation that was registered in France in 1754 by Benjamin Franklin. And many people are not aware, because of the subversive operations that have taken place in the Western Hemisphere. And since 1861, many of the people have believed that the United States is the country. The country is Morocco. The United States is the service corporation occupying and operating on Morocco by treaty. Are we clear?
Clear.
And logically, by many people being compromised, that knowledge has not been transferred from generation to generation. This was by design, and logically, people who are not aware of it learn from their parents who have been miseducated, and they start using the word or the name of the land and the people and applying it to Europeans, which it does not apply to. Are we clear? Some people think it's innocent, but it isn't innocent. What it does, it relinquishes your right of claim to the land, and the European takes it and makes sovereign claim and exercises sovereign powers that belong only to the nationals. Are we clear? We won't go through the details at this particular time, but for those of you who recognize international intercourse and international law intercourse between nations and legal statuses of citizens and nationals on the planet, when you see people travel to other land areas under other political jurisdictions, you will see an enumerated series that will be on cards. Like some people who are from different jurisdictions will have what you call green cards, being foreigners or etc. Keep in mind, and this is one of the things that we have to fix with our people, they have to stop thinking that because they come from the center or the south or the islands of America that they are not the Americans. Are we clear? Because many of them have been mistrained just like the people to the north. And the Europeans have used miseducation in order to train the people to separate them mentally from the land. Those dynamics are signified in the movie they call Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy thinks that she left home, and at the end of the movie, the issue is that she just bumped her head, but she's home all the time. And this is symbolic of what has happened to these people with hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass, like copper, who think that they came from someplace else. They were only miseducated. This is what the bump in the head symbolizes and represents. Also, the lion of Judah in the Wizard of Oz also symbolizes that. We won't get into that at this time, but I want to also remind you that the Prophet Nubu Ali reminded the Moors not to get rid of your Bibles, because he's going to use it to condemn the corrupt government. I'm going to share with you chapter 65 of the book of Isaiah in the Holy Bible, which is, those of you know, is the Heliotext, which is derived from Septuaginta, which is derived from the Book of the Dead. Isaiah 65. I am sought of them that ask not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. I have spread out my hands all the day long unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good, after their own thoughts, a people that provoketh me to anger, continually to my spirit and to my face, that sacrificeth in the gardens, and burneth incense upon the altars of brick, which remain among the graves, and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh, and the abominations, the broth of abominable things is in their vessels, which say, stand by thyself, come not near me, for I am holier than thou. These are a smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all day. Behold, it is written before me, I will not keep silent, but will recompense, even recompense unto their bosom. Your iniquities and the iniquities of your fathers together, saith the Lord, which have burned incense upon the monuments, and blasphemed me upon the hills. Therefore, I will measure thy former work into their bosom. Thus saith the Lord, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one saith, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it. So will I do for my servant's sake, that I may not destroy them all. And I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob, and out of Judah, an inheritance of my mountains, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. And Sharon shall befold the flocks in the valley of Nehkar, a place for the herds to lie down in, for my people that have sought me. But ye are not they that forsake the Lord, that forget my holy mountains, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto the numbers. Therefore, I will number you to the sword, and ye shall bow down in slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. And when I spake, you did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And ye shall leave your name for a curse upon my chosen, for the Lord God shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name. I want you all to complete this chapter of Isaiah 65 because it's talking about you. And as these Asiatics that have been running around for these generations claiming to be Romans, using Roman names, and they refuse to honor their mothers and their fathers, and Rome has put their name on you as a curse and claimed your lost estate. Noble Ali came to restore that estate. Subject matter for the night is the enforcement of Constitution. And Constitution and treaty and law are one. How many of you read the Constitution for the United States at North America? Can you read Article 6 of that Constitution, please? Give her the mic, because I want you all to be clear on this, because I was talking to a brother yesterday, actually a brother and sister, or two brothers and sisters, and they're in a research, they have a research organization in Philadelphia area. And one of the things I mentioned to them is that many people address arguments complaining about the conditions of our people and have not read the Constitution nor done anything to enforce the Constitution. But yet they want to argue about constitutional rights. Can you read Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States, please?
Article 6, subsection 1. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. 2. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Subsection 3. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States.
Islam, thank you. So people's concepts and misconceptions that the operations of law for the secured rights of people, which are divinely oriented, coming from your creators, through your mothers and your fathers, is where the principle of what is called common law is recognized and honored by nation states. For it is the relationship, your capacity to relate to the customs and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers from time immemorial that establishes what is respected as the common law. And from the common law, the platforms of legitimate constitution principles are drawn, for they are based in maxims of law, maxims of principle that do not offend any human being, for they're in harmony with the human species. And therefore, it is the duty and responsibility for all men, women, and children to confess their own and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, and honor their mothers and their fathers, that they may receive their inheritances like all other nations. Those who fail to answer up to constitutional principles are subject to many mistreatments, which you all have read in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The unfortunate situation that we have is that many people confuse the issue of constitutional enforcement or the covenants between nations with what they think religion is. And then some with what they think religion is not. So as you can see in Article 6, no religious test shall ever be required. Are we clear? Because it has to do with divine right, not a belief system. Are we clear? but that's where the relation begins and it ends. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, understanding that we have suffered in the Western Hemisphere under the Spanish Inquisition, European occupation, a lot of information has been and is continually being deliberately suppressed. The Moorish Americans, the direct descendants of the ancient Moabites from the land of Canaan, who, by ancient edict, were permitted to occupy the Western Hemisphere of M.S.T when the Atlantis was a river, before you had the great tectonic shift of the cocoa plates. And those of us who crossed the river with the great super-devere, which is the dividing of the land between Ham and Cush, are called Ibri, or the Ibri, those who cross over. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is where they have in the Bible and in the older books, in the Vedas, in all the other books, what they call Hebrew, which is improper. It's Ibri. It is not a religion, and it's not a belief system. It is the people who crossed over the great river before the shift. So you are the Ibri in action, not a different people. Is that very clear? Many people who use the book, the Septuaginta, and the Bible have misused it and made the people think it's a religion, and in doing so have disconnected people from their estate. Are we clear? So take no offense, because it's not meant to be offensive. It is to correct the record, because if you do not correct the record, the heirs of the estate will be continually declared as incompetent and non-descendable. But the misinformation was not accidental. It was deliberately set forth to steal your birthright and your estate. That is also represented in the book of Genesis, Genetics, chapter 25 of the book of Genetics. Or Genesis, where you see Rebekah is deceiving Isaac with the transfer of the birthright between Jacob and Esau. So you read that, because that's telling about you too. And also for you who give up your birthright for a bowl of red pottage. And the symbol red, or the color red, is symbolic of your flag too. So understand, while the book is cosmological and it is also allegorical, you must know it relates to you. So don't look at it as just a book to worship, because originally the book was, and all of the books are cosmological books, and it's for the workshop of the mind, not for the worship of the books. And therefore, all the prophets would always remind the people to listen to the word and do not get caught up in worshiping them. However, the people began to worship the prophets rather than pay attention to what they said. And therefore, this is one of the reasons why the world is upset today and why people are in such disorder. For they have begun to worship the prophets rather than to study what they said and recognize that they were social reformers. And they did not promote religion. Most of their enemies were people who claimed religion, including the priesthood, who've always been the enemies of the prophets. Because the masses have never been really given religion. The masses have usually been given dogmata by design of the priesthood. But because the priesthood have traditionally hidden behind the titles of priest, hiding behind Allah, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, etc., and raped the people. This is one of the major paradigms of the issues of Yeshua ben Yosef arguing with the doctors of the law. The doctors of the law was the priesthood. They were doctoring of the law. And those sufferings have met us today face on. And so much of your cure will be knowledge, for the people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So one of the things we want to deal with to clear the record for some COINTELPRO operatives who were critiquing Ras Mariah on her class last week, saying that she could not use AA222141 because it's the number of certificate of CMB registered in the Library of Congress, Washington, D.C. Well, let's clarify this make this very clear. I am the Emir of the Great Seal. I possess those certificates, as does anyone else that studies this stuff. The number AA222141 refers to this, and I want you all to write this down. The AA is Nationals of the Land. That's the highest level in the categories of the studies of citizenship. Are we clear? Thereafter, you will find upon your studies of international operations and peoples, you'll see A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10, A11, A12, A13, A14, A15, A16, A17, A18, A19, and all of these lists will list different natural people that travel into different countries, and it would be the categories on why they are in other jurisdictions. Say someone might come into the land and they come for school, and they may be going to a college or university for so many years, and their green card would indicate that. Are we clear? Someone may come in as a scientist to do some work, and they would have a different number. I want you to get used to these things, because one day we're going to share with you those different lists, but that's not the subject matter for tonight. I want to make these things clear to you. You may have someone comes in for a job, for working, and these are what you would call different alien statuses. Are we clear? So be clear that this AA status is Class A1. That is the nationals of the land, distinguished from the citizens or the corporate citizens. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Clear.
The nationals are the highest level for their citizenship cannot be removed. Are we clear? Because it's a birthright. It is not unlike, say, if any of you went to Manchuria or China for school, and you have a family there, you may have children there, they become Chinese citizenship under Naturalization Act, but that would not make you Chinese, would it? Are we clear? That would be a citizenship status, and you would have a number that would indicate whatever that status is, whatever your purpose is for operating in China. Are we clear? Same with Russia, same with France, same with Germany, same with Brazil, same with any other nation state. Are we clear? So those numbers are operative here in North America. And this would indicate the people of the land distinguished from persons who may be citizens under the United States company, which under treaty law has been operating at North America. Are we clear? And with what you call the union, those persons who may start domiciling here or residing on the land semi-permanently, i.e. Europeans, they would be U.S. citizens. Are we clear? Are we clear? Clear. But they're not the nationals. Are we clear? That's not a disrespect. That is clarity. However, because many people have been abusing our people have been mislabeled as U.S. citizens, which they are not and can never be. Are we clear? You're the nationals of the land. You're the people of the land. And understand this very clearly. Though you've been tagged as Indians, the land is not India. Are we clear? Clear. You will find that misnomer established in Columbus's records, because they were trying to get to Madagascar and to Hindustan to take over the trade routes of the Moors. And so they were navigated to the Atlantis Islands, which you now call Boricaine, Haiti, Dominica, etc. And so he started calling the people West Indies. That's where that term came from. Are we clear? That's how the Moors of the West became known as Indians. But you're not Indians. Are we clear? Over generations, the Europeans reinforced the brands and the misnomers and displaced the pedigree in order to override your right of claim to the land, because they started instituting what they called the doctrine of discovery. Are we clear? to steal your land. Islam, Abdullah,
Yeah.
can you give Abdullah the mic, please?
Yeah, I want to add to what you were saying. There's a book called the Medieval India Under Mohammedan Rule. Medieval India Under Mohammedan Rule, 712 to 1763. Stanley Pope. Medieval India Under Mohammedan Rule, 712 to 1763. Stanley Poole, Poole. Moors ruled modern-day India, all right, for 1,000 years. So I'm just giving maybe some support to what Taj is saying. The land Sindhu. India, the name India has been anglicized. You have Sindhu, which is Sanskrit. We Arabicized it to Hindu. The British, when they took over in 1760s, they anglicized it to India. The Knights, the Order of Christ was established in 1338. They are refashioned, the Knights Templar were refashioned as the Order of Christ.
Yes.
They took over the spice trade of the Moors. The Spanish Moorish mill, a coin, was the most powerful coin in the world. The dollar, not the piece of paper, silver coin, gold coin. The measurement, the weight of the dollar was based off the weight of the Moorish mill. What I'm saying is we have tremendous power, and that power is still in effect.
Yes.
All right, peace.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Moorish, M-I-L-L. Moorish
This
mill.
is why you see when
The book, the title of the book, Medieval India, MEDIEVAL, Middle Ages. The Middle Ages, so there's, all right, medieval period is Middle Ages, and that's 700 to 1500. That's the time period which the Moors ruled Europe. There's a 3-volume book called The History of the Moorish Empire in Europe by S.P. Scott. The History of the Moorish Empire in Europe, volumes 1, 2, and 3 by S.P. Scott. We ruled Portugal for 500 years, Sicily for 400. All right. You have southern France for about 150 years. All right. So Charles the Hammer Martel, the hammer, because he laid the hammer on us.
yes,
And 732. All right.
Yes.
The Battle of Poitiers, or the Battle of Tours.
yes,
All right.
Charlemagne.
All right.
Yeah. So it's important for you to know that history and not to have your mind compressed due to the forced servitude and peonage that operated in North America, which is connotatively presented as slavery. This is why most people who are in the business of taking advantage of you will always talk about our people as being the first this or the first that in 16 or 1700s as a slave, so that you don't know your real illustrious history, and that you're actually the nobles who were overthrown. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is why if you all do any research around the world and you start looking at old oil paintings of people here on the land, they look just like you, and they will refer to women as noble women, and the sheiks and shakuns and chiefs as noblemen. You were the nobles who were overthrown. You must understand that. And that's your real history. And people among your own who are referred to in the rest of the world as conversos. So write that down and get used to that. Conversos. And conversos are Moors who, either out of fear and other disingenuous situations, claim to be Constantinians, which hide behind the name Christianity. And this was 90% of all conversos were never trusted by Europeans. You'll do the research yourself, because the Europeans know that those who know the true history know that the Constantine order, set up as the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, which is the official name of the order of Christianity set up by Rome is really corrupted for mind control. And so those Moors who were educated knew that. This is why the Europeans never trusted conversos. However, other nationals always looked at conversos, who were later called Negroes, black, and colored, as traitors, because they did not stand on principle. And for compromission, they compromised themselves and often worked against their own people. However, the conversos who adopted the Constantine order, hiding behind the name Christianity, were usually chosen as overseers against their own people. And this is where your preacher class came from in North America. They even set up colleges that you do the research. They set up colleges, and this is where all of your early so-called Negro preachers graduate from. And the school was set up specifically for that caste, for keeping our people under the mind control and hiding behind the name Jesus, knowing that that's a password. For the Yahshua ben Yosef, who was Moabite, Canaanite, and he was Muslim, his great-great-grandmother is called Ruth the Moabitess. And they have a book for her also in the Heliothek, in the Septuaginta, and later translated to the Bible. And it's usually set at book 39, which equals 12. And that's Yahshua's great-great-grandmother. She's Moabite, he's Moabite, and you're Moabite. The ancient name of the Moabite, the contemporary name for the Moabite, is descendants of the ancient Moroccans, or you call Al-Moroccan or American. The short for the ancient Moabite is Moor, M-O-O-R. And this is why you see in all secret societies around the world, whether European or Asiatic, you will see them wear the Moorish crown of the sun, which is called the fez. And that crown of the sun, called the fez, is usually dressed in jewels, and they will tie the tassel down. In representation of the universities that have been built all around the world, the oldest university on the planet Earth is in Morocco. You can look that up yourself. You can look it up on the internet. The European will tell you it himself. And then they give you a geometric duplication of the fez in the shape of a square with on top of a kufi, and it's called a cap and gown when you graduate from school or university. And you will see a stitch line going on the oblique of the cap and gown, something like this, on the oblique. You all have this? All right. Oh, I'm going to read this for the people first, and then we're going to draw the symbol of the cap and gown. The AA in the lesson book, is the highest level of citizenship that's there. The highest level of citizenship would be the national. That's the people of the land, distinguished from people who may be citizens of the United States. Are we clear? All right, are we clear? So these are the original tribe nationals of the land. Are we clear? That they falsely refer to as West Indians. Are we clear? North, Central, and South. The true people of the land of the Western Hemisphere. This 2.2 is chapter 22 of the United States law of a general and permanent character. Are we clear? General and permanent character. So that means it's broad, isn't it? Isn't it? All right. So that deals with foreign relations and intercourse. And for those of you who would do research in chapter 22 of the United States Code of Law, that will be page 954. That third two is consular courts. Consular courts deals with Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution. Will you read that? Pass over the mic, please. And keep this in mind while we're going over this lesson, that the Prophet Noble Ali commanded the Moors to do what? To enforce the Constitution. And he claims it to be what? The great missionary work of the Moorish movement. Are we clear? All right, go ahead, David.
You want the whole thing?
Now I want you to read section 2,
All right.
Article 3, section 2.
All right. Article 3, section 2. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other
Read the first line of section 1 so people can understand the original jurisdiction always is what? One vested in one Supreme Court.
You want to do it? No. All right. Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such superior courts as the Congress may from time to time.
Such inferior courts.
Or such inferior courts. I beg your pardon. As the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their office during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. You better read. I can't see as well here. 2?
Yes. Section 2.
Section 2, all right.
Yes.
All right. The judicial powers, section 2, Article 3, section 2, the judicial powers shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases in admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between the state and the citizen of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizen thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects.
And so as you can see, that is a foreign and international jurisdiction. So when you're dealing with nationals and citizens and there's any controversy whatsoever, the platform for that would be consular court, for it deals with the issue of diversity. Write that down, diversity. And get used to it. And so when you're dealing with the citizens of different jurisdictions that are operating on the land, whenever there's a controversy or an issue between them, it comes under constitutional law. Article 3, Section 2. And the venue is consular court. And so that's that third 2 that you see in AA222141. However, for those of you, and particularly the baby girls, because they're young and they haven't been made aware of these things, in 1954, Dwight D. Eisenhower shut down consular courts. Are we clear? In order to hide this information. Are we clear? And then you recognize during that period of time, this is when they start promoting the Negro preacher martyr guys with the civil rights 14th Amendment argument stuff that actually started stealing your hotels, your schools, your restaurants, your corner stores, and your businesses, and now you all have little to no businesses under your control, thinking that you could be U.S. citizens. Under the Negro Act, this is when they started promoting that strongly amongst our people. And almost all the leaders that they had doing that always hid behind the name Jesus. And the people believed in them. And this was to get the people to agree to be Negroes and people of color under the 14th Amendment, which is actually artificial persons, which would take you off the constitutional platform and put you in the Christian black codes, and then they would exercise them, and you were trained to call it racism and prejudice when it's actually the Christian black codes. And this is how they've been breaking your families up since the 50s. And that's a fact. Now, a point being made to you, once you have a couple of generations of people being trained like rats and not really understanding that they're being trained, they were thinking they were being educated. After a while, you lose reference points, and they don't have any reference points to relate to. So they think that these people are teaching them truth because they usually say Allah and Jesus, then they call these people black man and Negro, not knowing that it's actually disinheriting you and taking you off the political platform. Also recognizing that many scholars among our own, knowing that our people don't have some of this literature available to them, and many of them have difficulty reading because they were disallowed proper reading skills and definitely not taught etymology, so they could not cross-reference persons who are claiming scholarship. Understand that C.M. Bey did the AA222141. That's the number of one of the certificates with nationality and identification registered in the Library of Congress. However, because there were so many people amongst our own always trying to separate the missionary work of the liberation of the people, separating anyone that does that from Noble Drew Ali, which is the nature of the Moorish movement, is the enforcement of the Constitution, which is why I did lesson book 14 in the late 80s. And we published it around 92, between 92 and 96 in desktop copy. And because of knowing that that this is the most true level of the politics operating at North America, that many people thought and would think that it's a religious belief and would reject it on that surface because that's their training. And so I separated the books, and lesson book 14A1, Protocols of Liberty, which I'm getting ready to publish very soon, is the other half of this book. But because immediately when Rosenrod did that great class last week, and then you had trolls coming on saying that she could not use that, so that they cannot misinform people who are listening and people who come to these forums, I brought out the lesson book to show you what it relates to. It is not the certificate. The certificate just has that matching number. Are we clear? And so what I did is research what it related to. So that is what it relates to. AA, Nationals of the Land. 2.2, Foreign Relations and Intercourse. On page 954, that anyone can do research for yourself and liberate yourself. Are we clear? Section 2, chapter 22, book 22, chapter 2, consular courts. So then no one's been teaching you consular courts, they've been telling you civil rights courts and civil rights arguments, and you thought it was real, and as soon as you go on there, you get all these abuses. So you can see why our people for so many generations have been continuously losing. They're on the wrong venue. Are we clear? So what occurs when you go into the wrong venue or into a venue that has no proper jurisdiction? Do you expect due process? No, you've been abused, haven't you? However, people have known this and not exposed it to you. This is why a lot of people who claimed over the years for you all who know some of the criticisms that we get, why they jump on Taji Guy and tried to dismiss my platform, hoping I'd disappear. Because once you educate the people, they can't play with them anymore, can they? Once you understand that this is universal, and this is the supreme law of the land, then you recognize, why haven't they been telling you this? Then these people lose credibility, don't they? That's why they don't like Taj Tarik, because they won't be playing along with that game with the titles. You understand? And get full pockets while helping to miseducate our people to their injury, and put a bunch of plaques on the wall. People think you're great and you're screwing your own people. While the rest of the world wondering what the swell is wrong with us, what's taking us so long. And then we're marching all over the place, starting a whole bunch of organizations to deal with the problems when you should have reestablished consular court. You see the point? Now, logically, if the parent doesn't know, you can't teach the babies, can you? Can't teach them what you don't know. Then they grow up and they get into the world, and the state claims their children before they're even born as wards of the state, abuse them all over the place. Then they go to these family courts, which are private human trafficking venues. They're illegitimate and incompetent courts for Unam Sanctam policy. Then they start another organization to march and pray, wasting their time, while their leaders know that this was the problem all the time. So that you understand that this is the foundation law of the land, you also know, I know most of you know, that this is not being taught. And most of you, even those of you, many of you who study constitutional principle, weren't aware of this. That's why I did this festival. Are we clear?
Clear.
But knowing that they have funds and they have organizations and law firms that actually wrote articles on me, calling me the Fourth World War for exposing this information. They have this COINTELPRO operation of CIA called the Southern Poverty Law Firm that wrote an article for said I made this stuff up. But they're counting on people not knowing or not having reference. Are we clear?
Yes, clear.
So now you have reference and even the page. So this is my position. Prove me wrong. However, in doing so, you will understand better the divine warning by the prophet for the nations and recognizing that C.M. Bey was not countering Noble Raleigh, was he?
No.
He's teaching the civic platform that you should have been taught in the schools that Noble Raleigh declared as chartered parts of the Moorish Science Temple of America, most of which have never been established. It's an uncomfortable truth, but most people aren't willing to admit it. They're more willing to try to protect the clubism rather than liberate the people. Are we clear?
Clear.
It's important recognizing this when I first came into the movement is why I founded the Roundtable, because I immediately recognized that, because I always had a library, and my father was a reader. And so when I came into the Moorish Science Temple of America, I didn't come in with closed eyes. I didn't come in as a dummy. So I immediately recognized by different things people were saying that they were traitors amongst us. But I was in no position, I just came in. I was in no position to tell the grand governors of the Moorish movement all over this country what they're supposed to be doing and what not do. But I also knew that I wasn't going to submit to misrepresentation. So I set up the Roundtable in '82 to do what I was doing anyway, because I was doing research anyway. The Moorish Divine National Movement gave me a platform. And then when I started doing research on Noble Raleigh, I recognized how deep he was. But I also recognized many people were misrepresenting him. But I also recognized when I wrote, most of the stuff, like these lesson books, I actually did for my children. And actually, that brother back there, Brother Abdullah Iltalib Mosey Bey, suggested that I start sharing it with the public. Is that not right, Dooley?
Yep.
And we started a newspaper, Out Rock and Star. And also, I have information that was handed to me directly by Grand Sheik Hamid Eel, who was the last Grand Sheik to walk with Prophet Noble Raleigh in Newark, New Jersey. And it is he who gave me, out of his own off his own wall, the charter, the bylaws. He gave me the Koran out of his desk. That's the first time I met him and the last time I saw him, when I went to visit in Newark, New Jersey. He says, I know you're going to do something with it. And what it did, it reinforced what I already do in my own heart and mind. But I also recognize that when you tell the truth, a lot of people don't like you because they want you to play this game, this ego game, or because you got a title, you know, and everybody walking around with badges and sashes, and they're looking important, and the people are suffering. Well, I'm not comfortable with that. I can't sit around playing egotistical games while the people suffering, and they're looking at people who should be telling them the truth, playing it safe, or taking passivity, or teaching them passivity while they're suffering. So I did, and started sharing my lesson books that I prepared for my children with the public. This is one of them. All right? So that's consular courts. And 141 is, pay attention to this, you all, judicial authority generally to carry into full effect the treaties of the United States with certain foreign countries. That's the law of the land, y'all. The law of the land. And I'm going to read a little bit more to you from the lesson book after I do a sketch, and we'll do a sketch of the fence I showed you earlier. Now, can you all imagine if the people around the country and off the country, because people were listening from England, Brazil, and other territories last week, when the troll made that statement last week when Roz was doing her class. If the masses knew that, what would they have done with that person? They would recognize that that person was an operative. But not having this knowledge, they would get caught in that gray area, and that creates what is by design called, in military terms, schism. S-C-H-I-S-M. That's the military term that the European uses, that the people refer to as dividing and conquering. And this has been one of the operations in the Moorish Divine and National Movement, where you see the people keep trying to divide the Moors against each other, or people have them debating with each other on a noble issue when they really should be presenting knowledge, not disgracing the nobility of the platform of resurrecting and redeeming their own people. But when you have a background in knowledge, you don't fall into that trick, do you? So as you can see, this is universally obligatory, isn't it? And then somebody gonna tell her she can't use that? You see, when you know better, you do better, don't you?
Yes, sir.
See, in other words, you don't argue with co-operatives, you continue to do the work to liberate the people. And the people themselves will start solving the problem. This is why the Europeans, a lot of times when he gets frustrated, when we keep marching and praying and complaining about what the European is doing to you, and he says, why don't you all leave us alone and go back to your Negro black leaders that keep selling you all back into slavery? Now you understand the response of that troll last week? Trying to talk about they're going to start some legal action for her using AA222141. That's the enforcement of the Constitution and treaties. But again, you know, we must be persistent and regular in doing the best we can to educate the people, to liberate them from European occupation, as well as COINTELPRO amongst your own. CIA has a 6-point budget. One of those points of budget is for Negro and black leader trolls. And so when someone comes to liberate you, automatically a troll will come out to try to bury you again. Are we clear?
Clear.
So we try to give you information so you recognize that, meaning that although I wrote this book, understand that knowledge is not mine. It belongs to you. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Clear.
Persons who have titles, sheiks, grand sheiks, assistant grand sheiks, moderators, chairmen, so-called leader girls and leader guys are obligated to teach you civic knowledge, which is constitutional enforcement. Are we clear? Which is at the heart of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. It's at the heart of the movement. Noble Ali established the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which is the Moorish Temple of Science, 1925, as a civic organization. The Old Canaanite Temple, established in 1913, on up to the Moorish Temple of Science, 1925, the Moorish Science Temple of America, 1928. The Noble Ali veiled his form, 1929. So the Moorish Science Temple of America, as his corporate name for the Moorish Temple of Science, existed exactly 1 year during the span of Noble Ali's life. All the rest of the time was civic. And the Moorish Science Temple is a religious affidavit under Heard's law. So it established government, actually. Are we clear?
Clear.
So that's to inform you, because you're going to have COINTELPRO who are constantly going to try to misrepresent this movement while claiming to be leaders in the Moorish movement. So I'm giving you facts so that you can be liberated in your own mind. Are we clear? Your nationality is a birthright. It is not an owned clubism by anyone. Are we clear? Noble Ali established the Moorish Divine and National Movement to re-inform you of your pre-existing nationality and birthright that exists before you were born, before the organization was set up. Are we clear? It is a vehicle for dispensing this information. Are we clear? And he said, go back to that state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers, and when you do, you will find these things out. However, knowing that there's so much compromission amongst us, it is the only reason why this information is controversial. Are we clear? Because when you start liberating people, they stop supporting institutions that they discovered wasn't really supporting them. This is where it talks about in the Bible when it talks about the apostasy taking place and the people going to start falling away from all them institutions when they discover they've been getting screwed by these institutions claiming Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad, everything, and they've been playing you and raping you. Well, this is the covenants of the land. Are we clear? Now, I want to also share with you from the journals of the House of Representatives, and this is 1789, 1790. And next time you all come and make sure that you have a copy of this, all right? And especially for the baby girls, because it's very important. Because keep in mind, one of the things that Rome does, they know that if they subjugate the woman, they subjugate the family. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is why these organizations that are being claimed as religious organizations always suppress women. But they always want you to come and throw some finance in the tray. And they always want you to come and bring your babies and do a salami bologna for them and then lie to them and tell them that Jesus got a bank account at Chase Manhattan, which he does not. They do that. They've been lying to people forever. And it's time for the priesthood to be exposed for just who they actually are. Just because they say Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad don't make them holier than thou. Because they've been using the Bible, the Septuaginta, and the Koran to rape the people. And that's the truth. And no one will call them to the table. Well, Taj, you guys call them to the table. And I don't care if they don't like me because I'm not here for them. And I don't need their authority. My mother sent me. Thank you very much. I'm going to read from the journals of the House of Representatives to show you this is no new argument. Are we clear? This is 1789, 1790. And keep in mind, Georgie was appointed, not elected, to the office of the president for the United States Trading Company, doing business at Morocco, 1789. This is the case, a synopsis of a case, all right? Are we clear? The views of slaves and free blacks are rarely found in the petitions. Blacks were often the subjects of petitions submitted by whites, but in one unusual case, 4 former slaves petitioned the House of Representatives for clarification of their legal status. The ex-slaves, Francis, Daniel, Hammond, and Samuel, had been subjects of the Emperor of Morocco when they were captured by an African king. They were delivered to a Captain Clark on the promise that he would take them to England, where the Moroccan ambassador would ransom them, but instead they were sold in South Carolina as slaves. Eventually, the 4 men purchased their own and their wives' freedom. They now wanted to be assured that if accused of a crime, they would be tried as subjects of a foreign nation by the Court of General Sessions rather than as free blacks by the magistrates and freeholders' court. The House decided that the men were citizens of Morocco and thus not subject to laws governing free blacks. Different status, isn't it? Isn't it? Same people, different status. Introduction to this case. A petition was presented to the House of Representatives from sundry free Moors, subjects of the Emperor of Morocco and residents of this state, praying that in case they should commit any fault amenable to be brought to justice, that they as subjects to a prince in alliance with the United States, that's treaty law, of America, may be tried under the same laws as the citizens of this state would be liable to be tried, and not under the Negro Act, which was received and read. House Journal, January 1790, January 1790, published for the South Carolina Department of Archives and History by the University of South Carolina Press, Columbia, South Carolina. So you can see the universities know this too. And they turn around and call these people black, don't they? And they have black leaders keep telling you that you're black, don't they? And guess what it does? Put you under the black codes. That's the House. That's the journals of the House of Representatives. You think they don't know that you're Moors? Yes, they know. But it's not to their advantage because they can't mistreat you under international law. Now you understand why you must nationalize? Why Drew Ali set up the old Canaanite temple to restore your nationality? Is it an action of a club or an organization, or is it a birthright, you all? Birthright. Is your pedigree. Now, in relationship to your activities in community, you must have a conscious knowledge of what you're doing. Thus, that's why I gave you that. Are we clear? I'm going to take you a little further in that to show you the fundamentals of AA222141 in your relationship with operators of the United States Service Corporation. And so I'll read to you the laws of a general character. What I wanted to do, and because it's actually on one of my other computers, I would have put this page up on the site, but share that with them, anybody wants to assist. But she's going to put that up on her page. And this is for you all to see. And this is from the lesson book, the page that I'm reading from. Are we clear? I just want you to get an idea so you can understand. I'm going to come over there. I want you to understand that when the troll came up and televised that she couldn't use it, this is what they're telling you. All right? Now, understand it is your duty and responsibility as Moorish Americans and as people of the land to enforce the Constitution, because it's the duty of every man, every woman, and every child included to confess their wrong. So even children are not excused. Are we clear? However, people who have titles they've been teaching you, and that's what their titles are for. Them titles don't belong to them, they belong to you. Are we clear? So when people come around talking about their grand this and grand that, them titles belong to the people and to the people alone. And they're only to be used when they're in service to the people. Are we clear? They're not above you, they're your servants. And anyone who violates that should be removed from office. Anyway, the Code of the Laws of the United States of America of a general and permanent character. I want you to look up both of those words. I'm not going to go through it right now, because you need to understand what that means. It's general, which means broad, and it's permanent, and it don't mean it ends yesterday. It was consolidated, codified, set forth, and published in 1935. This is again. Are we clear? In the 159th year of the Republic. It doesn't say the democracy, the Republic, with ancillaries and index. Now, the treatise and commentary given by myself when I wrote this book is Charles Mosley Bey, PhD, LLD, 3rd, 33rd, and 360-degree Mason, free Moorish master astrologer and Moorish constitution lawgiver, isonomy, has copyright certificates registered in the United States Department of Justice under Truth A1, Library of Congress Copyright Office, which reveals at law the conditions of intercourse between the indigenous Moors and the occupational European nations, with whom the Moors have treaties. This affirms the pre-existing status of the Moors in all matters of interchange, commerce, and law with the European side of the nation. The specific copy certificate of note, clock of destiny, Moorish American nationality card of identification with Zodiac Constitution has registration number AA222141. And so you can see it correlates with the enforcement of law. It does not set the law. The number of the registration correlates with it. Are we clear? Outside of that, it has no relationship. Are we clear? I made the relationship to bring the consciousness to you. Are we clear? So that's Taji Guy, not CM Bey. So when the trolls try to criticize Roz for using that number, she has the right to use it, because that's my book. And she prints Taji Guy's book too. And that's international law. Are we clear? And treaty enforcement, just as Prophet Nuh Ali commanded the Moorish Americans to do. And those who are enemies of the Prophet logically are not going to tell you that. They will promote the schism to try to make divisions amongst us. Are we clear? That's why I did the book. And that's also why I separated the book in 1996, because I already knew cooperatives would be there, and they have all the finance behind them and the organizations and the CIA. And all Taji Guy has got a brain. That's why I separated them. I'm getting ready to hit them again with the other half. They might have the finance, but I got the brain. And I'm not playing with them. Now, what those numbers represent is, this number refers to the Code of Laws of the United States of America of a general and permanent character, in force January 3rd, 1935, 1934 edition, title, Chapter 2, Title 22, Chapter 2, Section 141, Foreign Relations and Intercourse. Logically, that enforces Article 3 of the Constitution for the United States of America, Section 2, because you're dealing with what? Treaty law enforcement, foreign states, persons, jurisdiction, which Sister D read for you. So they can't say that Taji God made that up or Noble Ali made that up. That ain't got nothing to do with belief, does it? has to do with enforcing that Constitution to protect your birthright, which is unalienable. And they've been putting liens on your birthright on your commercial platforms. So what the Section 141 deals with is judicial authority generally to carry into full effect the provisions of the treaties of the United States with certain foreign countries. Hear this out, you all. To carry into full effect the provisions of the treaties of the United States with certain foreign countries, the ministers and the consuls of the United States in China, in Siam, in Turkey, in Morocco, and that's emphasized because you're at Morocco, Muscat, Abyssinia, Persia, and the territories formerly a part of the former Ottoman Empire, including Egypt. Go to chapter 47, y'all, of the Holy Koran. Duly appointed to reside therein shall, in addition to other powers and duties imposed upon them, respectively, by the provisions of such treaties, respectively, be invested with the judicial authority described in this chapter, which shall ascertain to the office of minister and consul. Now you understand why Grand Sheiks wear black hats? Because they're also muftis. They're supposed to be enforcing the law. So on one level with the people, they take them back to the ancient principles of maxims, which is called divine law. Are we clear? Nature's law and nature's God, as you see in the provisions of the Declaration of Independence adopted by the Europeans from Muslim law before the adoption of the Constitution for the United States, which Obama told you all about when he went to Egypt. You see the correlation, you all? So therefore, and therein shall, in addition to other powers and duties imposed upon them, respectively, by the provisions of such treaties, respectively, be invested with judicial authority described in this chapter, which shall appertain to the office of minister and consul, and be a part of the duties belonging therein, wherein and so far as the same is allowed by treaty, and in accordance with the usages of the countries in their intercourse with the Franks, emphasized, or other foreign Christian nations. And then it gives you multiple subsections of law. So you can see Christianity is not a religion, it's a political platform. Christian nations, distinguished from Muslim nations, you're under occupation by the Christian corporate operations acting as a nation called the United States. And this is where your birthright has been stolen. That's why I did this book. To clear that up, because I already knew that people was going to misrepresent it. So I had to outthink them. Because they have all the packaging, all the finances, the banks, all the leader guys, the leader girls, all the Masons, Eastern Stars, matrons of the church, of the mosques and the synagogues, 32 degrees, 33 degrees. They got all the finance to kick back, the 501c3 with Lyndon Baines Johnson. All Taji guy was a barber and a carpenter. But I still got a brain. Continue. Now, commentary by myself on this issue. Moorish Americans should refer to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, the Moorish Zodiac Great Seal Constitution, and the United States of America Constitution, Article 6, Special Attention excerpts from AA222141, 142, and 143. So the number is 141, so now I'm going to give you 142 and 143. Are we clear? So chapter 22, title 22, chapter 2, section 142. General jurisdiction in criminal cases. Are we clear? So 142 deals with criminal cases. The officers mentioned in section 141 of this title are fully empowered to array and try in the manner provided for in this chapter all citizens of the United States charged with offenses against the law, committed in such countries relatively, and to sentence with of such offenders in the manner in this chapter authorized. And each of them is authorized to issue such processes as are suitable and necessary to carry this authority into execution. That's subsection 4084. Chapter 22, Title 22, Chapter 2, Section 143. General jurisdiction in civil cases. So that was general in criminal, now we're dealing with civil. Such officers are also invested with all judicial authority necessary to execute the provisions of such treaties respectively in regards to civil rights. They didn't tell you that civil rights was what we listed under this, did they? Did they? No. They took you to that 14th Amendment, didn't they? So they lied to you, didn't they? Whether of property or person, I'm going to repeat this, so let's get this very, very clear. And this is for the trolls that are paid by the CIA to keep countering this, and those who try to criticize Roz last week, talking about she can't use this. Such officers are also invested with all the judicial authority necessary to execute the provisions of such treaties, respectively. In regard to civil rights, emphasized and underlined, whether of property or person, and they shall entertain jurisdiction in matters of contract at the port where or nearest to which it was to be executed, and in all other matters at the port where or nearest to which the damage complained of was sustained, provided such port be one of the ports at which the United States are represented by consuls. So they've been telling our people you want counsel and then sending you a lawyer, wasn't they? So it'll be a consul. Such jurisdiction shall embrace all controversies. I'm repeating. Such jurisdiction shall embrace all controversies between citizens of the United States or other provided for by such treaties, respectively. That's subsection 4085. And of course, we go back to Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States. As Dee had read earlier, I'm going to repeat so that you can see the relationship. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. So you can see this supersedes that Constitution. Are we clear?
Clear.
This Constitution and the law of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. So we're dealing with the supreme law of the land. How come you weren't taught this? And somebody going to call in and talk about Roz can't use this? Keep in mind, when they was attacking her, they was attacking you. That's what you must recognize. You're trying to put you back to sleep because they know most of you don't have this information. So you get caught in that back and forth stuff, what kind of more you are. You're more by bloodline, by birthright. And you're obligated to this, just like the European is. But because they put you under that black codes and you've been doing around doing black things, you've been in breach of the law. But it allowed them to abuse you too. Are we clear? Clear. So don't play victim because you're responsible to this information. You just haven't been taught. But thankfully, Dr. Naila made the House of Reawakening Minds for you to get this information and other information that other people dance around. Because truth is controversial. People don't exactly like you when you tell the truth. Because it pulls the wool over a lot of people that have been screwing you for generations. Hiding behind Jesus and Allah and stuff. And they've been getting away with it, haven't they? Mm-hmm. However, if you have this knowledge for yourself, you don't need to talk to God. You ain't following me. You follow the instructions of Prophet Noble Ali. And then those who are supposedly producing literature to help support this movement, because the Prophet said the half has not been told. If I told you everything, you go back to sleep. And he charged the Moors to produce literature. He said, in order to change these people, you must change their literature. So all these grand chiefs and governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America don't need to talk to you. You're supposed to look at their literature. How come you weren't told these things? Do I need to critique them, or maybe you should critique them for sacrificing a lot of generations, haven't they? A lot of our people have been suffering for lack of knowledge. Because everybody want to play games with them, but they want to take your finance, don't they? They want you to be members of a club, not of your nation. It's a Moorish divine and national movement. It's not a club movement. It's a restoration of a nation state where it's what nationals have been negligent of their duties to answer up to the constitutional fold of government. This is why in recent year or two that we've been reestablishing the argument of the restoration of the consular courts, because that's the proper venue. Are we clear?
Clear.
But if you abandon it, that lets the European run wild, don't it? And that's why he's been doing this, what? 14th Amendment person that the people have been calling the straw man in the Wizard of Oz. And he's been playing God at your expense, stealing your gold, the yellow brick road. That's the old Silk Road that they took over of the ancient Asiatics that spanned the entire land from southern Asia to northern Asia, Asia South to Asia North, that you call now Africa to China, across the Atlantis, even to North, Central, and South America, the old Silk Road, what in the Wizard of Oz they called the Yellow Brick Road. Just follow the Yellow Brick Road. Just follow the Yellow Brick Road, Dorothy. They even make fun of you because they know that your own people have sold you out. But you believed in them because they keep saying Jesus and God and Allah. And you think they love you. The prophets was here, they the ones that sold them out to Rome. So anyway, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made and which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So you can see these judges are bound to this, aren't they? They've been playing dumb, haven't they? Now you understand why they set up the U.S. democracy platform, so they could be corrupt and protect their corruption. Your duty is to enforce the Constitution for the United States under the laws of the Republic. Are we clear?
Clear.
And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, and anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So when they do these color of laws telling you that this stuff don't count anymore, does it stand in law? It does not. See why Drew Ali told you to enforce the Constitution? And he said, if you did not, he said, you're not going to be happy. That you'll be sorry. And so now we've been suffering the Negro Acts that should have been solved 60, 70 years ago under the Moorish Divine National Movement, and the law had not been carried out. Now the Europeans is liquidating your estates left and right. They're packing private prisons, which are POW camps with your children and your men, tearing your families apart. And then you try to get justice in the court system, which are private courts belonging to the Circle Church of the Barristers of England, when it should be a consular court venue. And you have not stepped up to the constitutional laws of your government. Now you understand when Drawley says being Moorish Americans, you're part and parcel of this said government, must live the life accordingly. Not Taji, your prophet done told you that, but we didn't carry out the law, and now we're suffering for it. But I'm presenting this to you to let you understand that don't let people trick you and try to act like CMB didn't support the platform. He gave you knowledge to carry out the law. It's one thing to tell you one thing, it's another thing to show you. Are we clear? So now you have reference point, don't you? All right. So the senators and the representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So you don't come under the law talking about what your beliefs are of your religion. It don't count. You're dealing with maxims of law and the supreme law of the land to preserve the divine rights of all human beings under that Constitution. With the enforcement of the Constitution and the treaty, it is your duty to do so and to carry out the law. And thus, in the Moorish Divine and National Movement, for those who go to a Moorish Science Temple of America, OK9 Temple, Act 1. Who got the divine constitutional bylaws?
I know it.
I know you know it. So give it a mic. Give it a mic. I want you to recognize how this information correlates. But as you can see, we're not promoting to you to believe what Drali said. We're showing you what he's referring you to. Read it.
Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is in power to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science.
Islam. So as you can see, that is a constitutional enforcement decree, isn't it? That has nothing to do with what your beliefs are. That's your responsibility in your relationship to your social duties and responsibilities. Are we clear? Yeah. This is one of the reasons why over the years I've always presented the civic and national side of this movement, which has been sorely suppressed because people keep thinking it's a belief. It's not a belief. It's the restoration of your birthright for you to reclaim your lost estate. Your poverty that you've been suffering is totally artificial. Totally artificial. And yet our people was giving up their birthright for a job, not knowing that they're the wealthiest people on the planet. They've just been denied their lost estate. And they insist on being Negro, black, and colored, and then claiming abuse when they themselves were abusing themselves, and the Europeans feeding on them like vampires. So Drali said the Europeans are what? Living off your virtues. And so you need to understand certain things that he said and why he said that. But if someone doesn't expand on it in the overall spectrum of human endeavors, you may miss it. Are we clear? Yeah. So this book is shared with you to make you look at your lack of responsibility to yourselves. Don't accept what I'm telling you. Do some research and recognize that a lot of our abuses are our own fault. We have not taken responsibility and suffered greatly for it. So I'm informing you because when you know you're responsible, are we clear? And that's also why I read that chapter from the Bible. If you're doing business in a European's name, they refuse to be called by their own mother's and father's name, and they want to cry and march all over the place. They're looked at as being in disgrace. And they call it racism. The human species is the race. Yes. And the human family is divided into expanded families who are on the earth planet, and they're called nations and nationalities. And any person who refuses to honor their mothers and fathers and answer up to their nativity of their birth has no inheritance. That's how it works. That's how law works on the planet. Get used to it. And let's not feel sorry for ourselves. Let's start taking responsibility. And ignorance of this has not excused you. They've just been abusing you more and more and more. I want to sing, now that's the journals. I want to see if there's anything else in this particular issue that might assist you. I think that should be sufficient, but the book will help you in other areas if you study. Gives you a little bit more expanded knowledge. And this is one of the reasons why we, again, and I'm repeating this, established the reinstitution of the consular courts. And Brother Shelley Moore has been traveling the country helping a lot, bringing people into the consciousness of the reestablishment of the consular courts. And this is also why members of the Order of the Great Seal have been working diligently for decades to restore consular court operations. But then some of the greatest critics have been people who should have been enforcing this law, but have been depending on you not getting this information and creating even more schism within the Moorish movement by claiming Great Seal Moors were out of order, when actually we were enforcing the law, not placating or taking a passive position. And logically, people who are passive who are co-interpreters really don't want you to know this information. So they would attack people like myself, hoping that you never got this kind of information so you could think it's a matter of opinion or that we're making this stuff up. You get the point? And so they play this game of keeping you in a little club when you're supposed to be preparing yourself to take your places amongst the affairs of men. Can you take your place amongst the affairs of men when you don't know the platform that you're supposed to be on?
No.
Can you take your place amongst the affairs of men if you don't study constitutional law?
No.
And that's the covenant that's between you and the persons who are claiming to be government so that you can keep them in check? It doesn't give you rights. It keeps people in governmental order, in order. So what happens if you don't keep them in order? They switch places with you and they make you their servant, which is what exactly has happened to you. Now you understand why they've been stealing your houses and putting you on the curb, killing the medicines, and then making you sick, and then making you pay for your own, not cures, treatments, and then kill you. And you forgot your culture. So it used to be grandma would go right in the yard and get you your medicine right off the tree. But we thought that was old-fashioned, so we started following after the Romans. Now you got plastic that makes you sick, and a plastic card to go try to go into debt and credit to get fixed with viruses that they plant in you to make you sicker. And they cure nothing. They're pathologists. They're making you sick, killing you off, draining all your resources, then claiming your land. Now that's fact, it's not an opinion. Drawley came, restore your right to your estate. This is why you must, what? Declare your nationality, your true religion, and claim your lost estate. Failure to do so, thinking that just because they're not making an issue, that they don't care, they intend to kill you off. They're not passive, even if you are. You can be passive if you want to, and you think this man ain't trying to kill you off. Well, you must understand that he's not playing. They're tearing up your families, putting the youth in jail as young as they can, and then the first thing they do as soon as they get them is stick a needle in their arm. And I guarantee you they're being planted. Go to a hospital, any one of you get birth, they claim the baby, and they inject them, and they implant them with the injections. Baby can't sign for themselves, so they take the baby's foot, which means foundation, and put it on a certificate. It immediately goes to 55 Water Street, New York, and goes on the stock market. That's the bonds. That's the bondage. And for those of you who don't believe that, you can go into congressional records and look what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did in 1933. Those are facts. I'll be clear. Are there any questions about AA222141 now? Do you all understand that relates to enforcement of Constitution and treaty law? Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution for the United States. It is your duty and responsibility, those who are Sheiks, Grand Sheiks, Assistant Grand Sheiks, etc., chairmen and moderators of the Moorish Divine National Movement that has many branches. It is important for them and is their duty to enforce that Constitution and the treaties. Now you understand why Dwali registered the Moorish Temple of Science as a civic organization in 1925? For those of you who doubt that, look into the microfilm in the library, and it's in the microfilms in Cook County Library in Chicago, Illinois, and I went there and pulled up the microfilm myself, so I already know it's there. As well as you have it in your literature, in the book of the literature that's shared with you in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and Noble Drawley's declaration to all of the governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Moorish movement, the Moorish Divine National Movement, of which the Moorish Science Temple is a subdivisional branch, that everyone should have a copy, and that this information was to be taken to the hedges and the highways, delivered to the people, and they were supposed to maintain the communication with the people through the newspaper, and then this information was to be taken to the four corners of the world, to all nations. I don't have to tell you that that has not happened. You already know it. Because you're being informed of a lot of things that you probably never heard. And so you can see what happens to the last few generations, how they've been lost. Because they're mentally disconnected from the land. They don't know they're standing on their own land. They always think from a servitude slave position, because that's how they're trained by their own leader guys and girls. Never heard of consular court, which is the proper venue in which our communications are to be made with the Europeans who are occupying Morocco. That the enforcement of the Constitution is also the enforcement of the treaties. And they together, conjoined, comprise the supreme law of the land. Do you need a lawyer for that, or do you need to study the Constitution and enforce it?
Study.
So it's the supreme law of the land. Does that mean any other law comes before it?
No.
So therefore, all courts, all the supreme and the inferior courts are bound to this principle. Are we clear? And that's to give reinforcement to the work that many of you are doing to help restore consular courts. And I also re-emphasize that to you to make you responsible to yourself, to recognizing why we study here and why we say study. We don't want you to operate on emotions. Emotions don't help you. You need knowledge. And so if we would take our responsibilities, half the problems that we have politically and economic would end overnight. But if we sit around dealing with beliefs and how we feel, you know you're going nowhere and you will be held incompetent, which is what has been happening to us. And so people who should have been teaching us have been telling us to deal with beliefs and just put it in the Lords of London's hand, pretending it's Jesus. And then we keep catching hell, and then we start new marching organizations to deal with the hell that we keep catching, abuses from the European occupiers of our land. When you are AA, the national of the land, and don't even know it. That's why Dwali said, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. But I'm sharing this, just a synopsis of this lesson book with you to let you understand that this responsibility is on you whether you came here or not, or whether you heard this information or not. You're still held to it. And whether you like it or not, they expect you to either enforce it, and if you don't, they consider you've abandoned it. And if you've abandoned it, they're making all kinds of claims on your estates. Now you understand why all foreclosures are called abandonments? All foreclosures are called abandonments. Now you understand why they got all these private prisons around, and they're using authority of sovereignty to lock our boys and girls up? Now you understand why they miseducate these children in these schools? To disconnect you from the land. Because the Spanish Inquisition against the Moors never ended, and they must keep you unconscious that it's in operation. Are we clear? So the best way to keep you in blind faith is to put people among you from your own, taken from chosen colleges that were set up to groom civil rights leaders under the 14th Amendment and make you think that that made you citizens and that you were going to get rights as a Negro, which means monkey. And they get you marching all over the place, wasting your time and funding your own enslavement. Thus, CM Bey registered the nationality card of identification in the Library of Congress so they couldn't tamper with it. And the certificate number relates to and correlates with the enforcement of treaty law. That's why you see a lot of them grand governors don't like CM Bey. See, because once you look at these connections, you see that Europeans know this, congressmen know it, senators know it, presidents know it, your city council people know it, the mayors know it, and you have been in the dark, running around marching and praying behind Negro leaders that have been using the name of Jesus to keep you dark. Jesus was a Moabite. So was you. Same bloodline. Didn't even know yourself. He says, I'll come amongst my own and you receive them not. And you've been following them Romans, catching it. You see how you've been wasting your finance with these Negro groups? So I just wanted to show you, because we were talking earlier, myself and Dr. Naila, you know, what we would talk about today, and it dawned on me when that troll came on her phone talking about Roz couldn't use AA222141. Now I say to you what you all have to say about that. Well, that's everybody's responsibility. Isn't it? Yes. Islam, Dr. Naila.
Islam. We talked a little bit earlier, I guess last week, about the role, and you mentioned something tonight about the role of religion in subjugating the people, you know, sort of with the Christian Black codes and so forth and other things. Want to bring this up. Some people probably may get offended, but we talked about the fact that Billy Graham recently passed.
Yes.
And one thing I noticed a couple days ago, I was listening to XM radio in my car, so I wasn't looking at, I don't know whether it was Fox or whatever, but they were broadcasting bringing his body into the rotunda to lie in honor.
Yes.
They mentioned that he's only the fourth, quote unquote, private citizen to lie in state, or lie in honor, because there's a difference between state and honor, to lie in honor, and since that's been happening since, I guess, Abraham Lincoln's assassination. The point I want to make is the reason why, you know, if you do some research, if you do research on Billy Graham, you'll find that he's been linked, and I'm going to say quote unquote linked to CIA operations forever and ever. We didn't see that, and there's some paperwork that's out. I researched online where we heard it on one of the, you know, things that we listened to on YouTube, that there were many journalists and clergymen who worked along with the CIA, supposedly in years past. and he's been linked to that. So to me, that stands to read his importance to so many presidents, because the work he was doing was directly linked to CIA operations to spread Christianity all over the world, which he did well, and probably we were laughing about it a little bit, not because he passed, but he probably said, look, the stuff's getting ready to hit the fan. I need to get out of here so I can still be honorable before somebody starts to realize what I've been doing behind the scenes with all of this humanitarian work.
What appeared to be.
What appeared to be.
Yes.
Now, this is what we must know. So now we're going to go again to what? Congressional records and the journals of the House of Representatives. So we're going to read the first three of the articles so we can see what the relationship between Billy Graham, and that includes all your other clergy that you people have been trained to think that love Jesus, who they've really been working for.
Really?
This is not opinion. Let's go to the record. So first we're going to go, and I want you all to note this. This is House of Representatives Congressional Record, the Senate. Extract from 1916, isn't it? No Drawley established the old Canaanite temple in 1913, did he?
It's not.
This was set up for the bankers of England and the Circle Church, i.e., and the SS is later called the CIA. It belongs to the Jesuits, to the Bishopric of Rome. So when it comes to the restoration of your estate, understand that their missionary work is to overthrow the republic. So let's look at Article 1 of the Secret Treaty of Verona. Article 1, the high contracting powers being convinced that the system of representative government is equally as incompatible with the monarchical principles as the maxim of the sovereignty of the people, with the divine right engaged mutually in the most solemn manner to use all that their efforts to put an end to the system of representative governments in whatever country it may exist in Europe, and to prevent it from being, prevent it being introduced in those countries where it is not yet known. Article 2. As it cannot be doubted that the liberty of the press is the most powerful means used by the pretended supporters of the rights of nations to the detriment of those princes, the high contracting parties promise reciprocally to adopt all proper measures to suppress it, not only in their own states, but also in the rest of Europe. And Article 3, and this is the secret pledge that your clergy has to the Pope of Rome. And I want you all to pay attention. It doesn't say Jesus, does it? Article 3, convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in the state of passive obedience, which they owe to their princes. The high contracting parties declare to be their intention to sustain in their respective states those measures which the clergy may adopt with the aim of ameliorating their own interests, intimately connected with the preservation of the authority of the princes and the contracting powers, joining offering their thanks to the Pope for what he has already done for them, and solicit his constant cooperation in their views of submitting the nations. So them preachers and clergies have been telling these people that they're submitting them to Jesus and to God, haven't they? The truth is, and always was, that they've been submitting them to the popes of Rome. Now you understand why you've been suffering? That's documented. Did I make that up? No. No Drawley make that up? No. The CMA make that up? No. Is that documented in the congressional records? Yes. What happens to all those people keep saying, well, my cousin's a lawyer and a minister, and he didn't know this. They got them titles, though. They got them 501c3 agreements, too, with Lyndon Baines Johnson after they bumped Kennedy off, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They've been delivering these people to the popes of Rome, hiding behind the name of Jesus, haven't they? And collecting finance and telling these people that Jesus got a bank account at Chase Manhattan, didn't they? And they've been getting away with it for generations, haven't they? And who do the clergy have their allegiance to?
The Pope.
Does that say J-E-S-U-S? And then when we tell the people, they start saying, "Todd, you God made that up. You're getting the people in trouble." There's your congressional record. And everybody knows it, but people who don't read. And that's why they say, if you want to hide something from monkeys, put it in the bowl. Because they only deal with beliefs that we train them in. Again, and I know it's rough for a lot of people because people, they just refuse to accept they've been played. They just want to think that because they got to believe it connects them with the divine. Well, they've been connected to the Lords of London, funding their own enslavement, not with religion, in the name of religion. There's a distinction. You can do anything in the name of anything you want to do. The outcome should tell you what's up. Does the outcome of our people tell you the conditions?
Yes.
How do you put ingredients in a cake and it always comes out wrong, but you keep on doing the same thing over and over again? Everybody else's cake is fine. Negro cake is always look like a cookie. I'm serious. And then we want to march all over the place to make it right and pray on it all the time. And then we keep doing the same thing over and over again and then lying on Jesus.
Right?
And the record shows that these people are lying on Jesus. But you know why they've been getting away with it? Because they haven't read the congressional records. And they think that other people that come to North America don't know that they're hypocrites. Now you see why nobody trusts conversos, why nobody like black people? Because they're always hiding behind Jesus and Allah and everything, and everybody in the world knows this but us. So they come in the communities, so why should they have any conscience taking advantage of the opportunities that aren't afforded to these phony people that keep on hiding behind Allah and Jesus and getting screwed and marching all over the place, wasting their time. And the world knows that the clergy is leading them to the Pope under the secret treaty of Verona. And it's documented. But they're going to tell you about the Bible. And they're going to tell you about the Koran. And they're going to tell you about ancient Kemet. And then turn around and claim to be black. And then when the European enforce the Christian black codes on them, they want to cry all over the place. They got 59 alphabet organizations to deal with rights, and they ain't never read a constitution. And everything this European has been doing has been to either make you sick, kill you, jail you, break your families up, and steal your land. And he has never done anything different than that. When you say, well, if I declare my nationality, he won't mistreat me. He's been mistreating me.
Okay.
You gonna tear my family up. We ain't got no damn families. You'd already done it. We need to stop being phony, and we need to stop showing the world that the European is their God. This is why our people keep calling him their great white father. But to kind of make it palatable, they'll just say white man, which means sovereign. And then they won't complain because he exercises sovereign power. And don't understand why the rest of the world wonder what the swell is wrong with us. And it's only because of our own, we buried ourselves for so many generations in ignorance. We've gotten confident in our ignorance and think that the world don't see us for what we really are. Extreme hypocrites, not hypocrites, extreme hypocrites. So rather than debate with you or the trolls that come on these sites, I'm showing you the congressional records to show you what them trolls been hiding from you too. And also to show you why them trolls attack this information, because it starts exposing them that they're really operatives. But they figure if you don't find this information out, you get caught in that gray area and they can play with you and create the schism, keep you divided amongst each other. Well, they ain't real Moors. That's your bloodline. It's your pedigree. Can't be owned by anyone. It's unalienable. It is a birthright distinguished from a privilege or some legislation. That 14th Amendment is legislated in order to steal your birthright. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are there any other questions? I'll remind you all, abundance is here with abundant food too. There's abundance. Abundantly speaking.
Can't put the camera on her because I'm here. Good.
But anyway, I want to continue, and I want to make a point with you. If I actually had this on my hard drive, and I would have shown you some other things in relationship to this particular lesson book. So I'm going to just read some things from it in order to share with you some things that I hope that will be useful to you. All right. Now, when you're looking at the note that you see on the back of that debt note, it's not $1, it's a debt note. And you see that great seal with the eye of Allah separated from it. In your consciousness, that eye is attached, reattached. And so when you see that symbol
Antigua.
Antigua. Well, that means down from the ancient ones. All right? And that is the symbol of civilization on Earth planet, which you see as a pyramid. When you're dealing with structures, in the physical dimensions, all structures, when you take them down even to the quark, which is unseeable by the naked eye, even with a microscope, you do an electrical reflex analysis of it, and you will see crystalline pyramidal shapes. Everything is made or built in a pyramidal shape. Are we clear? This is also why crystals have always been a part of ancient Asiatic culture. For it has a direct relationship in the building of your bodies, the salts, and then also all structure, etc. So I wanted to share that with you so you can understand why certain symbols are established in civilization. They're not just happenstance. They're based in the operations of nature. Are we clear? All right. Now, when you go ahead, Abdullah, give Abdullah the mic. So glad he came out tonight.
In the Declaration of Independence.
Get directly on your mic, please.
In the Declaration of Independence,
Yes.
we have the phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, that did not come from Europeans. Once again, we brought Europe out of the Dark Ages. There's no European curriculum taught anywhere in the world. There's no, I'm going to say it again, there's no European curriculum taught anywhere in the world. Philosophy, anatomy, medicine, botany, horticulture, street lights. That's your culture.
Refrigeration.
Etiquette. Remember, Europeans wasn't even taking baths.
No.
So who did he learn etiquette from? Hygiene. They learned from us. So I want to say that laws of nature and nature's God. That's the foundation.
And that's your zodiac constitution. And those, how many of you all have been to City Hall in Philadelphia? Any of you all here been in Philadelphia? To the City Hall? You been there? Yeah. You see that zodiac in the middle of the courtyard? Mm-hmm. People walk from the east gate to the west gate, from the north gate to the south gate, and walk right across that mound. And they actually make it a little mound too. They make it a little mound to signify it. Now the original zodiac has actually brass rails that go across the planet that show you the sister cities geographically around the planet. They covered that up with asphalt and they painted it on there. And so you go to the north gate, and they'll have the cornerstone in an open grave pit on the inside of the north tower of the parapet. And then they have Asiatics holding up the pillars, symbolizing the pillars of Atlas. Then the parapet is facing the Masonic Lodge, 1 North Broad Street, just to the northeast. And that's why when they had the flag raising on February the 9th, they raised the Moorish flag at that pole that's right facing the Masonic Lodge, February the 9th of this year. And then they call February the 9th Moorish American Day, because they took it down there too. Yes, so they raised it. That's symbolic. That's also for you to understand that that's where they took their birthright. And so that symbolizes re-raising the cherry tree that George Washington chopped down. And George Washington closed that lodge right across the street from that city hall. Closed the lodge. When they closed the lodge, there's a Grand Master. That's why you see a symbol of George Washington with his hands like that saying, whoa, meaning Hiram ain't dead. They thought we was dead. We're buried in the north, dark north, but we ain't dead. That's why Noble Ali said they might slow me down, but they can't stop me. They thought because they got rid of them, they're going to stop. But as you can see, when you study the world in other countries, not just here in North America, the Moorish Divine National Movement is the most powerful grassroots movement operating on the world today. Because nationality is the order of the day. And you see even Europeans of middle class adopting the philosophy or the restoration of the republic, because they lost their birthright too. The deal of it is that the heirs of the estate need to be clear on what the Moorish movement is about, not just emotionally attached. You know, logically, out of honor and integrity, because of the great works of the Prophet Noble Ali, any person that has any integrity will definitely respect the work that he's done. However, many people don't comprehend the depth of the work that he's done, the seriousness of the work. You don't have to believe in him. Study what he said.
Islam.
Because it's for the restoration of your lost estate. And the Europeans, particularly the corrupt Europeans that have set up the democracy platform in 1861, since March the 27th of 1861, have been hell-bent on stealing your estate, liquidating your estate, and then killing you off. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. And all of your sicknesses, 90% of all sicknesses, if there's anybody sick in North America, 90% of it is artificially constructed. And that's not an opinion. If you got people in your family that's sick, and anybody that's passed their form under cancer, guarantee you it's biological warfare. You might take 1 or 1% of anyone that's sick that got sick from some natural cause. All the rest of the sicknesses, over 90 to 99%, is artificially germ warfare set forth by the military complex operating at North America under the guise of the United States democracy order. And that's a fact. Islam.
And part of it, a lot of it is mental.
Yes.
It is the power of suggestion that's placed in the person.
That too, yes. And it's vibratory, it's vibration, tone, vibration, etc. Also to heal is that. Colors, tone, vibration.
Absolutely.
Again, but understand, and I'm saying this seriously, while that is true, the direct sickness, yes, it's supported by the mental, yes, but they have direct attack by biological warfare, you know. So this is why military operators of the United States Service Corporation and its membership who have been pretending to be a country, and logically, by people not knowing a background, actually themselves keep calling it a country. In law, they have converted their estate at that time. They don't know that that's how it operates. And for those of you who may not comprehend some of these things, understand that the principle of operations of the members of the Kyklos, Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan, Fool Society, and others, etc., and the different secret orders that set up by Rome, if you look into, for your own research, of your different organizational companies that are part of the colonies, the English colonies operating here, they changed the state republics, and most of that was done in the 30s and 40s. And so instead of you seeing the republic orders like Delaware State Republic, you'll see them say State of Delaware. Then when you say State of Delaware, you've actually put yourself in the middle of the ocean under pirate law. And then they say that you agreed to that. And then they abuse you as pirates. And this is the principle upon which they bring the maritime admiralty piracy onto the land under a false jurisdiction. Are we clear?
Clear.
And this is how they operate on the Cetus trusts and the global estate trust set up by the popes of Rome after the fall of the Red House. All of these things are correlated, and you must understand them. And this is not unlike when we were talking earlier, when we were talking about the zip exempt.
Yes.
And making the distinction between when we say don't abbreviate. The abbreviations that were set forth by the kingship oligarchy pretending to be Congress and Senate right now, when they actually quit in 1861 and they set up a private order. This is why later on they set up like the state of New Jersey, state of Pennsylvania, and you don't see state republics or state commonwealth. It's a totally separate jurisdiction of private order of the Jesuit order under the Circle Church, Knights Templars in London, Westminster. And you're actually putting yourself in a foreign jurisdiction, and when you agree to that and you repeat that, you're reinforcing the fraud jurisdiction. So therefore, when you try to make claims of right on your property and rights, they say that you waived your rights. And then they put a lawyer on people when the lawyers are not supposed to be holding no offices in the United States. That's how that takes place. This is why, people think that we're being picky. We tell them, stop abbreviating.
Yes.
Stop saying state of Delaware. It's a foreign jurisdiction. All of this took place, and why Drawley told these people to enforce their constitution. And what do? They corrupted the language in order to say that you're consenting to your enslavement. Well, do you see what I'm talking about? And so when people say state of Delaware, they think they're talking about the land. They're talking about a private corporation controlled by the Circle Church and the Chancel in Westminster, London. And that's why you see our people are trained to think that they're getting paid when they're not getting paid. They got private commercial paper, and they've been trained from childhood that they got dollars. And they're going into debt. They think that they're generating wealth, and they're going into debt. And then they're saying that this is your national debt. Now you see why people are working their butts off, and they keep telling you it's a national debt? Who's the national debt against? The nationals. But it's a fraud. Are we clear? It's a total fraud. Now you understand what stealing your birthright is? And our people who think that this Moorish movement has nothing to do with them, it has everything to do with you. It is the real politics of the planet. Not just of North America, but of the planet. And if you, the heirs of the estate, will not step up and enforce the law, you will be subject to all of the problems that have been generated under a color of law, under a color of authority, under a color of office, and initiated against people who claim to be people of color to your detriment. and then they want to kill you off before you figure this out. Because they know when you figure this out, you will be mad as hell. Particularly when you find out that your so-called black leader girls and guys have been a party to this all the time. And in secret, they've been taken to the mountaintop. And the mountaintop is that great seal pyramid that you see on the back. And they've been made to see the truth of the history. That's why you see the eye at the top. And in Masonry, they call that Muhammad's Mountain. And anybody that's got any power position at North America, in secret, got a Moorish fez. They dress them in jewels. In all of their lodges, they named them after Moabite women. All Masonic lodges all across the planet is named after have Moorish names. And that's the truth. And even J. Edgar Hoover, who set up the COINTELPRO operations to suppress these people and to infiltrate all so-called black organizations, got a Moorish fez. And all their presidents, too. And all your Negro marching leader guys and girls do, too. Where's yours? See the deal? A lot of times I don't wear my fez because I don't want people to be intimidated. Because I'm down there, I like to be in the field with the people. You know what I mean? So don't think I don't wear my fez because I don't want to. It's, you know, I wear it on special occasions. Because I'm going to get dirty all the time. But on a serious tip, you know, because I'm in the field, I like to be down with people. And I don't want them to be preoccupied with how I look.
True.
You know, thinking, this Grand Sheik guy, he's a mirror. No, Taj, the guy with cheap sneaks, that's just doing my job like everyone else is supposed to be doing, and liberating our people. That's my interest, liberating our people. My interest, I don't need a title. My mother sent me. You know, and my missionary work is liberation of our people, like Il Malik said, by all means necessary. But all you need is truth. We got the biggest weapon in the world. It's called truth. And all you got to do is share it with people who've been cheated from it, and then show them so that they themselves can see it for themselves, so that they can make an intelligent choice on their own. Follow no one. Listen to everything and study and contradict everything with the intent of testing it for truth. And when you find it to be true, keep it for yourself. Study all things and keep that which is good. All right? Are there any other questions? But again, yes.
No, there's probably been some, I don't know if any will pop up here.
Wait, give her a mic.
Can you readdress the proper way to write your
all right.
address?
Yes. Now, and remember, it's not yours. This is one of the things that we want to emphasize to people is stop saying my driver's license, my birth certificate, my marriage certificate, my social security card. None of them are yours. Those are all bank bonds belonging to the Order of the Jesuits, operated through the Circle Church in London, through the Knights of the Templars. Are we clear? And its operators are, put it this way, what you must be clear on, you must be very clear on this. When you hear the Circle Church and the Chancel, you're talking about the bankers who are operating at North America and the attorneys who are claiming to be attorneys and lawyers of the Lawyers Guild Communist Party, which is their mother order, with the missionary work of overthrowing the republic that you see in Article 1 and to steal your birthright, which is why they do not teach children of the original Article Amendment 13 with its 20 sections, which is also referred to as the Nobility Clause in the Constitution, where the attorneys and attorneys of the Bar Association cannot hold an office in the United States. And everyone that's operating now are attorneys because they turned over the government. Are we clear? This is where your problem is. They do not represent you. They represent the Circle Church under the secret treaty of Verona. That's why the country is broke, and that's why you're broke. Because you didn't put them in check. Are we clear?
There.
But if they get you running around marching all over the place talking about racism, you're off the mark, aren't you? And you're not dealing with the issue. Then when you try to enforce your rights, then you go get one of them barristers and lawyers thinking that they're going to help you in your rights, and they're the ones that have been stealing them. They themselves, and write this down so you get this very clear. The Lawyers Guild operating in North America and in the Western Hemisphere, i.e. the ABS, the American Bar Association, and the bankers are actually partners. And they themselves comprise the Circle Church. And therefore they're in your face and you don't see them. And this is how it's worked so well. And when you hire them, you give up your birthright. That's what they're in business for. To steal your birthright and to look innocent. You ever notice that anybody who hires a lawyer, they never pull out a constitutional treaty? They be talking about rights, and never pull out a constitutional treaty because they're enemies to it. They're there to rob you. They're there to overthrow the Constitution. There it is right there in your Article 1. Then they drain you of all your resources, and after they drain your resources, then you lose the case. I hired a lawyer and I gave him $2,000, and he's been going on for 3 years. And guess what? They're an officer of that private court that they're taking you to. They are an officer of that court. And their allegiance is to the barristers' union of the court, not to you. All they did was deliver you. That's called leave. Go look it up in the Black's Law Dictionary. That means all they're obligated to do is deliver you there and they can leave you. In other words, they're dressed up bounty hunters with suits and ties and serve you up. Are we clear? Now, the Tripoli set up the old Canaanite Temple and the Moorish Science Temple of America to take care of the corporate business for the Moorish Temple of Science. And the moderators and chairmen, and the Grand Sheiks and assistant Grand Sheiks put in place to make law. That was their job when Eisenhower shut down the consular court. It was their job to reinforce the law. Then he put them in position for that?
Yes.
How many of them you hear talk about draw lead and teach civics? Then you go look at them COINTELPRO operation papers and even the redactions of the FBI files, and I don't have to tell you anything else. Because even with the redactions, the European writes everything. He boasts about his Negro leader guys that he got under control. He even tells you in Executive Order 11490 that they are operating for Central and Federal. They don't even hide it. Because they know these people don't read. That's why them persons don't like Taji guy, because I don't play with them. Oh, you ain't with us, huh? No, I'm not. No. And, well, you can't wear that fez. My mom gave me that. It's my birthright. You can't be a Grand Sheik. I'm Grand Sheik and a mirror of the Great Seal. Registered. I don't know about them. They can make all kinds of claims they want to make. I don't need titles. I do the work.
Islam.
So Taji got his cap on. I'll bet you I'll liberate more people than they ever liberated. You can take all of them and put them in a package together, and I've liberated more people than all of them put together with their friends. Just ask anybody around the world, not just in this country. Thank you, trolls. Any other questions?
Well, we're just going to go back over what Sister Tamara asked you, if you could, so that everybody knows the proper way of putting a stake in
I'm going to show you something.
a location.
This is what's happening. This is called organic. You can also call it truth and falsehood, right? Truth, false. Write this down, y'all. Got that? This is in relationship to the operations of government in the Western Hemisphere. Are we clear? It doesn't mean that these are false words. These are false platforms or imposters. Are we clear? Even though this is connotative, the slave is connotative there. Excuse me, a little print here. That's for sale by license. That's just as an example. So when you're...
Can you read them? So,
Say it again.
in case they can't see it on camera, can you read one versus the other?
Oh, now understand that these words themselves are not false. This is relationship to the platform of government operating here at North America and what's being presented to you and what they've been operating in relationship to you, distinguished from what should be, by right and by law. Under the Republic, this is operative. Under the U.S. democracy, this is operative. They both exist on the land. This is the basis upon which how they steal your birthright. I could extend these comparatives, but this just gives you an immediate comprehension of what not to claim, what to reject. Don't let them put this on you, because when they say these words and you don't refute it, they consider that you're under that jurisdiction. Are we clear? Which is why they've trained you under here so they can say that you've agreed to your enslavement. Are we clear? The operations of government at North America, Northwestern Maxim, as Masonically referred to as the North Gate. And the Europeans and Masons and Shriners claim to be the keepers of the North Gate. Are we clear? And they're controlling your estate. Are we clear? Now, the overthrow of the Republic is what took place with the coup d'etat of the Congress at March the 27th of 1861, and then the later assassination of Lincoln and the overthrowing of the Freedmen's Bureau and the denial of you of your rights to your land. This is also why we never got the 40 acres and a mule too. Are we clear? So they set up a political platform for those operations. That platform is called the U.S. democracy. This began in 1861. Are we clear? So they want you blind to this, and they want you to embrace this. Are we clear? So when they educate you and your children, they will educate you in this platform and do everything to keep you away from this platform. Are we clear? Give Sister a mic. Give Sister a mic.
I have a question in regards.
Get directly in the mic, please.
I have a question in regards to the side that's on the false. What happens with those who do like real estate and things like that?
Say it be clear.
What happens to those who do like real estate and stuff like that?
Realtors?
Who do
Yeah,
real estate?
Who
do real estate?
Same thing. You don't own property here.
Right.
You cannot own property under feudal law. You can only own property under allodial law.
So they're not supposed to do that.
Exactly. Now, in your congressional records, which I want to show you something here. I want to show you this. Hold on. Now, this is House of Representatives again. This is also to show you that all politicians know this. So do all your congressmen, the people, the mayors, the persons or city council people, etc. All know this, and all have been raping you. All of them are guilty. All of them are guilty, including your marching Negro leaders. And see that? United States congressional records? Huh? You see this? Yeah. And you find this information on the flash drive that Dr. Naila be giving to people. This is on here. Now let's look at this. Now keep in mind, when did Noble Ali set up the old Canaanite temple, y'all? 1913. So let's go into this. Let's look at this first paragraph. We're not going to read the whole thing. This is Representative James Tropicant Jr., Representative of Ohio, addressing the House. Mr. Speaker, we're now here in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees, so that means they're dealing with an estate, doesn't it?
That's right.
All right. Presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. Does it say country or does it say entity? Entity. So an entity is not the country, is it? No. It's a private corporation, but they've been telling you it's a nation, haven't they?
Yes.
This is congressional records. We are setting forth hopefully a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it was a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933, 48 Statute 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session, June the 5th of 1933, Joint Resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. So they're imposters, aren't they? Yeah. Aren't they? Yeah. But it didn't begin in 33, it began in 1861, when the Congress adjourned sine die. They dissolved it then. It's just that people start waking up, and so they admit to this. And this is where people start talking about, because it ain't no gold coins, and therefore, and because it ain't no money, and the UCCs, and I'm going to authenticate the birth certificate and stuff, and get my peanut butter sandwiches back. No, you ain't getting crap. They're insolvent, they're a fraud, and those who keep promoting them is a fraud. Hold on, I'm going to say something else. Hold your thought. Because I want to satisfy her question, because I want her to know this. Now remember, Drew Ali set up the old Canaanite temple when?
1913.
All right, now in relationship to these two sides, these columns that you see right here, right? Let's look like this. Let's read this together, y'all. Prior to 1913. When did Drew Ali set up the old Canaanite temple?
1913.
Oh, so that means
Before.
somebody was trying to counter him, wasn't it? But if you don't know history and law or civics, and no one showed you this, you're walking around busting your butt under a mortgage and a deed and thinking you own when you was really sharecropping. And got a degree on the wall talking about you educated. Prior to 1913, so that means before 1913, most Americans own clear allodial title. See that? Allodial title, write that down. You see this right here? That ain't this, is it? How come they ain't teaching people about allodial title? How come people ain't even familiar with that term? Not too many decades ago. But it ain't talked about in language no more, is it? No. Why? They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know the comparisons. They want you to believe this. And that's what they've been operating on you. And then to keep you busy, they have Negro leaders and black guys talking about civil rights. And let us pray and keep hope alive on one of these days. And in secret, they got to fast. Nice, comfortable job, too. And got you marching all over the place on your own land, making you think you came from someplace else. Hold on, now look at this. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages. So before 1913, these liens and mortgages didn't exist at North America. Until the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 hypothecated all property within the United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. They sold you. These congressmen sold you and they got bonds on you. That's what that birth certificate is, the marriage certificate, and the driver's license, and all of them are bank bonds. They give them different names to make you think they're different tax systems. They're selling you your rights back. And their bonds and mortgages, dead pledges. Hold on. To the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees, the stockholders, they're stockholders. And all the instruments you got that you think is lawful are stock bonds. And you've been miseducated. And they've been selling your babies while they're taken care of by you. That's what hypothecated means. They didn't physically remove their bodies. They made bonds on them, and they're selling you on the market anyway without moving your body. So hypothecated all property within the United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees, stockholders held legal title. The U.S. citizen, tenant, and franchisee, you're a tenant, renting, sharecropping, thinking you own it, was registered as a beneficiary of the trust. That's that Cedars trust they set up. Via his or her birth certificate. In 1933, the Federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects, the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen to the Federal Reserve. Now you see why they got them black marching leaders to get you to be Negroes under the 14th Amendment, making you think that you're a U.S. citizen, got benefits, and they're selling you. And look innocent, don't they? Because they say Jesus. And we've been believing them, haven't we? In the name of the Lords of London. Face reality. Unplug from this false matrix. Declare your nationality. Go ahead, get in the mic.
Well, see, the reason why I said that is because I kind of fall up under that guidelines. I'm not actually I'm the tenant, but I've taken on investments in those areas. So the reason why I had to ask that question is because I'm at a crossroads because I'm doing a lot of things on the opposite side.
Yeah.
When in regards to our nationality, I should be on this side.
You need to know.
So
see, because anything,
in regards to how do I,
this is how they do it.
Like,
Study. This is why we're studying. See, because what happens when you open your mouth, and if your language is contradictory, your argument is dismissed.
But that's understood. That's the reason why I'm here, so that I could get the necessary knowledge and doing what I do. But I want to do it in a way where I'm going to help to our community.
Yes, which is why we're doing what we're doing.
The ignorance that I've been in regards to falling into the guidelines of the puppet, should I say.
All right, this is what happens. This is what the public and the private means. Although it took place in 1861, in fact, when they talk about this congressional record, House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress, they had to make language to fit it. This is where you get the state of Delaware, distinguished from Delaware State Republic. Any instrument that they give you, say in the state of Delaware registry, etc., your children, their stock. Any claim that you make to the contrary don't count. If you're transacting business with Jones Johnson, Freddie Jones, it's state property, and it doesn't matter your labor, the house, everything, your children, whatever you try to claim, you have no inheritance whatsoever. Now, it's not because we say so. We're showing you the record. But to show you that people know this, they never did not know this. It was never a time that any politician didn't know this. It was never a time that any mayor didn't know this. It was never any time that any councilman or councilwoman didn't know this. It wasn't any other time that these black leaders that are paid by them with their 501c3 operators, budgets, etc., agreements, pretending to be religious, didn't know this. Their whole missionary work is to keep you from finding this out. Are we clear?
But you know what?
Get the
a lot
mic,
of
please.
what you're speaking of is in Scripture. If one can understand the Scriptures. And
Yeah.
That's another reason of why I felt as though I needed to be unplugged from the matrix, and everything that I'm following or over the years have been following, I haven't actually had that option to do so in full.
Yeah.
So as I was speaking to, I think it was Sister
Dr. Naila, yeah.
I was speaking to her in regards to, in a roundabout way, that my journey has led me up to this point. Because about 7 years ago, I was sick. And I invested in real estate and wholesaling and many different other things. And then I ran into a crossroads just recently. And I'm just like, okay, if I hear the preachers, I hear what they're saying, but something doesn't add up.
Of course you know. In your heart you know. In your heart.
I've been known for a very long time. I just didn't have the other part to be able
Now you see why they foam at the mouth and run all around, getting people emotionally charged and calling it spirituality.
But see, that's the thing. I've never been with them.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we're talking about how they operate with the people. They're trained in hypnosis and using sounds and tones to get the people riled up, and they call it spirituality. Well, you give them reverence, Article 3, to the secret treaty of Rome and say, what do you have to say about this? And watch them get the membership to ostracize you and throw you out that church. Because you just caught them. Mm-hmm. They work for Rome. Always dead. Problem is, people just don't believe it. It's almost like our people need to be kicked with two shoes in both asses to believe that grass is grass. And that brown stuff on the lawn ain't peanut butter. Somebody's walking the dog. I'm serious. Our people will argue you down about what they own. They don't know the difference between real property and real estate.
I've always known that we did not own anything. Like I said, I didn't know
now.
Part.
But let's look at this. I want to also bring this point to the point. When they converted your rights or hypothecated, so write that down, get used to that. Hypothecated all your rights, they hypothecated your estate. Are we clear? This is where the public and the private argument comes in. Also, when you read this, you're going to see that they set up a double stock trust and then disallowed anyone else to do it. So they're stepping on the public and the private side, and then when you find out the trap and you try to get into private thinking that you ain't public, you're disallowed. That's why it doesn't work.
Well, actually, when
In other words, they got a criminal cabal operating as government. Then people go to them and file papers trying to claim to be the grantor to their own estate and the straw man. Then they got a bunch of people selling them packages for the Securities Trust, and they've been buying it, and it's been buying them time. When what you need to do is clear your nationality and clear your lost estate. You can't sell it. It's unalienable. You can't take an unalienable right and then put a lien on it. And if you got to apply, that's a lien. If you got to file 59 papers, that's a lien. You can't pay a pirate for what a pirate stole from you. Do you understand? I got you, Julie. Your brother here, and then yourself. Pass on the mic, sis. But I want you to understand, when you're looking at this in the hypothecation of your estate, this is where the public and private argument comes in. So when people start talking about private and public, it ain't an issue of grantor. It's an issue of an heirship. You see? And so they've been using your estate to back their bonds since the Civil War, which wasn't a civil war. It was a commercial war. And there's never been a treaty set up to end the Civil War. That's what Trump is dealing with right now, with the treasonous operators on the platform claiming to be congressmen and senators on both sides of the aisle. And so people who don't understand this politics, looking at Trump like he's out to lunch, and he's trying to fix this thing. He don't have to be the greatest guy, but he's trying to fix this thing. That's why they tried to assassinate him 7 times already. Because he's trying to restore the republic. Because ain't nobody on this planet, the Chinese, who's carrying most of the debt for the United States corporation, they've been operating on Chinese gold for the last 100 years. They've been given breaks, and they were given finance before, and they were supposed to help develop Africa, etc., with Chinese gold, and they reneged. And set up the euro, too, with Chinese gold. So you got to know the real politics here. United States Treasury hasn't existed since the 20s. They've been selling bonds against us, the heirs of this estate, around the world, UST bonds. That's the foundation of Wall Street. And we trying to be black, which makes us non-heritable. And even the labor is hypothecated. Did Taji make this up? No. Well, Roundtable made this up. Taji told these people, getting these people in trouble. No. It's exposing them and exposing their Negro leaders that have been misleading our people, marching them all over the place, and taking finance from them with black organizations that actually steals their estate. That's why they don't like this information. So they want to disqualify. He know you talking about. He making that stuff up, creating a bunch of confusion and stuff. No, they work for Rome. They've been working for Rome. And see, now that Rome's being exposed, he's going to sacrifice them. That's what they're really scared about. Give your brother a mic, and then after you get to Julie, go ahead, good brother. Directly in the mic.
Oh no, I just wanted to speak about definition of mortgage, or the etymology of mortgage.
Yes, thank you.
So mortgage now, late 14th century, mortgage, conveyance of property as security for a loan or agreement. From Old French mortgage, 13th century, mortgage, literally dead pledge. Replaced in modern French by hypothèque, from mort, dead. See mortal adjective, pledge. So called because the deal dies either when the debt is paid or when payment fails. Old French mort is from Vulgar Latin, mortus, dead. From Latin mortus, with 2 U's. Past participle of mori, to die. From Proto-Indo-European root mer, to rub away or harm. Also to die, and forming words referring to death and to being subject to death. The F restored in English based off of Latin.
Now see why persons are called black are called similar to mortus, dead in the view of the law? Not just that, so since 1913, all of their rights have died, haven't they? By legislation. Not by the law, divine right, not by truth and fact, but artificial legislation by foreign operatives pretending to be government, and hypothecated all of their rights, their estates, and had these people working for generations thinking that they were what? Owning property.
And I just thought it was funny because it says hypothecated in the document, and then also in the definition of mortgage, it says the root of the word comes from French hypothèque.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was crazy, or funny, or divine.
And so what that means, stealing people's stuff, making claims on it without actually possessing it. So they've been selling bonds on your estate, and now they call them derivatives. And now none of the nation states will buy their derivatives, and so their economics and their platform is collapsing. That's what the reset that everybody keeps talking about is really all about. And how many of these people running around calling themselves Negroes and Black even got an idea that it's all based on us? Think it has nothing to do with you. And then all these people running around selling packages talking about public, private, and you need to know the difference. Well, if they ain't told you this, they ain't told you the truth. There's a difference between what? Rights and privileges. Rights are unalienable. You don't have to apply for them, you have to claim them. It's called adverse claim, a rebuttal. They claimed you black, you better make it a public statement that you're not. They denationalized you, you better declare your nationality. They hypothecate your estate, you better create a trust and put your stuff in trust. They give you a mortgage in the deed, you better convert it to a allodial title back to where it should be. Your failure to do so, they bonding it and it's on the market. And so are you, and so is your labor. That's in the record. The point that I'm making to you, even when, like when we opened up and I went into Isaiah 65 in the Bible, that's why I went into that. These people think that they can transact business in Roman names and claim an estate. It ain't gonna happen. That's why the European put his family names on our people in the first place, to disinherit you. And they read that book and talk about they're so spiritual. They don't know that book, and they're not a part of that book. They just going through a routine of paying Reverend Jones to keep him taking Susie, who sings with the choir, to the Bahamas every year with Jesus' half, while they feel self-righteous about themselves selling pig dinners in the name of the Lord and getting sick. Well, that's in that book. Why they don't read that part? They don't read that part, do they? No, and they lost their birthright and don't see themselves. That's why I opened up with that. Also, this is the deal. Notice that everything I went to congressional records to show you that all politicians all know this. Why is this not common conversation in these communities with people to keep talking about their rights and their abuses? But yet they got NAACP, someone else's P on me, everything else, 99 acronym organizations, and ain't never one of them dealt with the issue, what's really happening to these people. They're there to keep you diverted from this information. And every organization concerning our people is infiltrated, which is why every time we expose this information, immediately some black Negro troll will immediately be right on top of it, working for them Romans. See, but I showed you the record, so they can't say it's Taji guys.
See, Taji guy creating all that confusion. He shouldn't be wearing a vest. He ain't more.
You understand? Great, Abdullah.
Or Islam.
Islam.
1095 to 1235 was the Crusades. That mission was to dismantle the political union, or the caliphates in Europe and other parts of the world. Now, Drew Ali established the Okanai Temple in 1913 to restore those political body politics.
Yes.
Now, what Taj is saying, I know it's daunting to some people who are listening. It's like, man, this is a lot of information. Well, what do I do? And all right, well, this is what Great Seal was established for. The problem is that we're doing individual fights. It's individual fights. What's the brother's name again? Please. Shiek.
Shalay Moore.
Thank you. I'm going to be working with him. I'm going to be putting out 50,000 copies of issue. I'm going to be issuing my newspaper, Masonic Gate, and put out issues 2 years because I was working on the books. I'll be putting out 50,000 copies per issue. The next issue coming out in 4 months, only because I have another book coming out in 4 months, so I had to wait to finish that. And I already spoken to him. All right, I have distribution set up all over. I have distribution set up all over the country, and so we're going to be writing all a series of articles on our progress in reestablishing the consular courts. So they're going to have a venue. We're going to have papers in European neighborhoods, not just in our neighborhoods. Right? We're not just going to deal with just our people. We're going to deal with Europeans too. All right? So educating them as to what we're doing as to what this Moorish movement is about. I'm going to be writing an open letter with the 5th issue that'll come out in the summer. Open letter to the director of the National Constitution Center, recommending that he put an exhibit honoring the Treaty of Peace and Friendship in the Constitution Center. So we're looking at doing some serious things, big things, and we have to get out of this individual fight thing. Yeah. A lot of what happens is, I've been involved so long, I've seen thousands of people, not hundreds, thousands of people come and go. And I've been analyzing the dynamics of why. Yes. There's strength in numbers. All right? And we have to address the nationality issue, nationality card issue, where you go to the post office, somebody gets nationalized today. For example. They go to the post office, show their nationality card, no problem. They don't have to file writs, all this, individual fights again. So what happen is that we'll have your individual fight, and then now they accept your nationality card, but then they won't accept his. But then he has to go through the same thing. We got to kill that. It should be show your nationality card.
Yes.
And go right in.
And that's their obligation.
Show your nationality card and go right in. All right? So we're going to work to doing that. All right? I yield the floor. Peace.
Thank you, Abdul. And again, I want to give a shout out to Brother Shalay Moore and Sister Light Tajiri for their constant work around the country and working on this platform for the restoration of the consular court. I want to give a shout out to Sister Delilah for helping construct the questions on the restoration of the consular court. I want to give a shout out to Brother Seton Ra and Sabrina for helping in the work of restoring consular court. But I wanted to show you all the groundwork for the necessity of its restoration. That's why I showed you the lesson book 14 to show you that platform should have been in place. And then I made the relationship to the Act 1 of the Divine Constitutional Bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America, which will counter the trolls coming from temples who are criticizing us for establishing this information to you, so that those operatives can't fool you, and your community leader girls and leader guys can't fool you, and the council people can't fool you, and the mayors can't fool you, and the sheriffs can't fool you and act like they don't know what their obligations are. They've been operating on the concept that you don't know, Moorish civic relations concepts. That's what they're operating on. And because the ignorance has been so widespread and ingrained, they've been getting away with it and having some people think that when they nationalize that they're in trouble, when actually you're enforcing the law. You just didn't know that these people are lawless. You're not out of the law. They are. They are de facto. Are we clear? So I'm going to read this again, then I want you to go into that. This is where you're supposed to be. The republic distinguished from the U.S. democracy. Allodial distinguished from feudal, which is operating here. De jure distinguished from de facto. Free distinguished from slave. Rights distinguished from privileges for sale by license. Unalienable distinguished from mortgages and liens. And as you can see from the documents I've shown you from congressional records, that I've backed up everything that I've said. And we could go deeper than that. But the trolls that they pay can't refute this, can they? Neither can the politicians. And the fact that you haven't been taught this should tell you everything. The fact that they never get on this subject matter when you have problems should tell you everything. That they've been consciously doing this stuff to you. And they're not ignorant of it. They're counting on you, trying to battle with them as individual units, trying to convince them when it's really you and your family members that need to be convinced. The world already knows this. You didn't. Get over yourselves and grow up. And take your places amongst the affairs of men, like the prophet said. It's just that we're in trouble now on a large scale, and people trying to crash course learn this information that should have been within them 70 or 80 years ago. Yeah. You've been betrayed by people on your side, and logically the Europeans who've been taking advantage of you, logically is not going to teach you. Not that it's their responsibility. It's the responsibility of your own family members. Just like it's a Chinese obligation to teach their children that they're Chinese, they're not light-skinned yellow guys. And if they go around the world talking about their light-skinned yellow guys, they'll lose their birthright too. That's not hard for an intelligent person to comprehend. It shouldn't be anyway, but it appears to be quite difficult for our people that insist on claiming to be black people, light-skinned, orange-skinned black people, don't matter what color you are. The color of law means artificial. We can't emphasize it enough. And so again, and because the trolls were set out to attack Ras and Raya last week, and RV Bey side, they're just jealous because half of them ain't done no work. And most people can get a better education on RV Bey, publications.com, you understand, than they can get in school. You know, and the critics are just jealous because they ain't produced crap. That's really what it is. You know, but here we go. AA222141, the enforcement of Constitution and treaty law.
She can't use that. We're going to take her to court and stuff.
I'm going to try it. Islam,
as an announcement, we've created House of Reawakening Minds has a directory that we're developing, and it's basically a Moorish directory of skills and interests and so forth. We have forms here that we want to give out for you to, hopefully that you will complete if you want to participate. It'll be a database. But for those who are watching online, we're going to turn it into a fillable, right? It'll be a fillable PDF. Is it a PDF? A fillable PDF that can be emailed to them and that they can send back. The end result will assist in some of what we're talking about, because now we'll start to, and we hope we can do this all across the globe, kind of know who we are, what we're working with, skill bank, and what we can contribute to the nation. So those of you who are here tonight will actually give you a hard copy. It is really in its first iteration. We'll probably make some revisions to it, but it's going to be turned into a fillable PDF that we will gladly send to those of you who are out there in other places. Yes. So that you can be part of this, because just because we have these small distances, it never stopped us before trying to go around the globe. So why don't we just connect on that level? Exactly. A lot of people are talking about unifying, and this is a way.
Yes, and the deal, one of the major things too that I really want everyone to comprehend, because people think that because they belong to different schools of thought, or they're in churches or mosques or synagogues, And they think that therefore this has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with them. It has nothing to do with your belief systems, except that you didn't understand that you were under mind control. This Moorish movement deals with humanity at large, and particularly the Asiatics of North America who have lost their birthright and didn't know they had an estate. You know, so again, because of training, people think that because they come to the church or go to a mosque or synagogue that the Moorish movement don't relate to them. It absolutely relates to you. Absolutely. Islam.
I just want to encourage everyone to examine the questionnaire for the restoration of the consular court. You can get it at fezprovinceregency.org, and I believe, do you have it on the
it's on the flash drive?
On the flash drive. I'm encouraging everyone. We were looking for a petty jury, which means 12 jurors, and a grand jury is 24. But we're encouraging everyone because it's transformative. It's not just about something that you can reply to, but it transforms your consciousness from knowing how it is a divine and national movement.
Yes.
It's not just a national or just divine. It's
and
divine
remember, and repeat, it's a divine and national movement that adopted a religious affidavit in 1928 to establish government and to preserve your estates. That's why Noble Raleigh set up a trust with the Moorish Temple of Science and told you to put all your houses and all your property under the Moorish Divine National Movement. The COINTELPRO operatives made sure that that didn't work, which is why all these people have been losing their homes. Are we clear? So I want to remind you, and this is another reason why CMA did the work that he did, because the movement was infiltrated. And if you're not active, you're going to lose. Are we clear? Anyone who's not active on the issue of nationality and birthright, they've considered that you've left the field of battle. And that you've left the field of battle, you've abandoned your estate. And so by default, you've lost all right of claim. And Europeans, through their bankers, which is the Circle Church and the barratry operations, that's why all of their barratry operations are presented in courts, which are really private trading venues under the 14th Amendment. And then when someone has a legal argument, the barristers will put you under Title 42, which is 14th Amendment, then they can dismiss it, give you 200 notes for death or something like that, and then call it a day. And take your bodies and steal the organs, and you be wondering why certain persons called black don't have no rights. They can choke you on the street, nothing occurs. They stomp people in the ground, nothing occurs. And if they do, they're only in jail for a couple months to satisfy the public so they don't burn houses down. Because black people don't have rights, because it's not part of the human family. And then you're off the platform, which is the enforcement of the Constitution and treaties. You see the point? Because the treaties were between Morocco, the Moroccan Empire, and the United States Trading Company. And when you don't declare your nationality, you can't use those as a defense. This is why a lot of Europeans, I'm going to get to you, Dooley. This is why a lot of Europeans in their different sovereignty groups that they call sovereignty groups, and understand that sovereign citizen is BS. It's an oxymoron. It is an absolute oxymoron. That's why you see a lot of Europeans misrepresenting the Moorish movement, trying to claim Moors as sovereign citizens, which is BS. We're nationals of the land. When you have a nationality, sovereignty goes with it. It's not a separate package. Are we clear? What they've been doing under the secret treaty of Verona is overthrowing sovereign governments. They've been going to and fro the earth, devouring nations. That's the missionary work of the U.S. democracy, which is a war machine of the Jesuits. That's a fact. It's not an opinion. And when you come under this platform, they automatically hypothecate everything you own, even your labor and your children. That's why they've been going in people's houses, stealing their babies with no court order. They don't need it. They're already declared public property. They're already bonded on the stock market. And then we sit around talking about what our beliefs are that they control. We need to get over ourselves and grow up. And again, we're going to make sure that this book and also lesson 2 will be available to you. We're going to work on that and update you. But again, when you see the trolls that come out, and that's before because we published this stuff before the internet was popular. You know what I mean? But I also knew how the CIA works, and I know how that most of these black leaders and ministers and persons that are leading our people are actually agents with federal and central. But I also know that the people wouldn't believe you if you told them that. It's almost like the people need to get their butts kicked. They need pain to learn. It's almost like, because they deal with belief so much, and they deal with people who look important that ride around in Mercedes and got chandelier places and stuff, and $3,000 suits, and they think that these persons are legitimately operating for you. So unfortunately, we got to be almost kicked into the ground before we get active. But we're in a dangerous position now because the Europeans have been liquidating our estates, and right now they're trying to convert their private debt seriously onto us. However, when you see the politics of Russia and China and other nation states rejecting the US dollar, what they call the petrodollar, all of that has to do with this Moorish Divine National Movement, the restoration of this estate. Because by robbing our estate, that allowed them to get to everybody else. And now that they're collapsing other nation states, now they see what Drali was talking about. And now it's becoming the world issue. However, you're first in line because you're the direct heirs. And so whereas the rest of the world is starting to become active, we should be at the front of the line. And we're dragging up the rear. And it's unfortunate, but that we're still breathing and we can still talk and communicate. That means that we can get some work done. Islam, go ahead, Brother Abdullah.
Islam, I just want to
directly in the mic, please.
What I've learned over the years is people are parrots. They say National Divine Movement. Like a parrot. I can have a parrot here. A parrot can say National Divine Movement. I mean, big thing. They say National Divine Movement. I want to make sure people are clear. I want to make sure people are clear on what divine is. So we're not parrots saying National Divine Movement. All right? You have what's called the Laws of Tahuti, D-J-E-H-U-T-Y, or D-J-E-H-W-T-Y, or Tahuti, D-T-E-H-U-T-I, or Jew. Yes. Modern Jew, J-E-W, this modern, is all same variation. We have the law you have called universal laws: mentalism, correspondence, gender, cause and effect, polarity, rhythm, duality, or opposite. Now there is a book called Temple of Man. You have the study of anatomy, which is an ancient study. And our ancestors, what we did was we understood that the human body, the measurements of the human body in proportion based on 5, which is a rational number, 1.618, called the golden section, golden mean. Yes. All right? Understanding that body proportion is in proportion to the measurement of the universe. Yes. Swallowed de Lubitz in the book called Temple and Man. He was a physicist. He measured the temple, the statue of Abu Simba, and he discovered with his measurements that the fingernails, fingers, you have the nose, eyelids, and so forth, was the measurement to the portion of the universe, the measurement of arc, radius, circumference, diameter of Earth, Moon, Sun, Saturn, Mercury, so forth. Yes. Our ancestors, what we did was we preserved the measurements of the universe in the measurement of statue and the layout of cities. So that's called metrology. Metrology deals with long distance measures. So you would have, say, a temple over here, right? And a temple right here. The measurements would be the distance of the sun, or in miles, the distance, the radius of the sun, or circumference of the sun, or arc, or radius of the sun, so forth. Yeah. So it wasn't just arbitrarily placed. That's not. I'm talking masonry. I'm talking divinity. It's the same thing. Religion. I'm talking religion. So it's called the Canon Law. There's a book called by William Sterling. The Canon. That's the main title. The Canon by William Sterling. So when you get that book, the Canon, and also Temple Man by Swallowdoodle Lubitz. All right? This is divinity. This is divinity.
Can you spell that name? Temple and
Temple, T-E-M-P-L-E.
So I meant the author name.
I can swallow this. You can just Google by name. You can Google the name of the book. It'll come up.
And when you're dealing with
Google
Islam,
Temple and Man. And then also the Canon.
yes.
The Canon by William Sterling. All right? Gematria.
Gematria. Yeah.
Each letter, either be quote-unquote Hebrew letter, all right, quote-unquote Greek letter, it's a number. God, it's a number. Jesus, number. Allah, number. Buddha, number. Mary, John, Joseph, those are numbers. Those are numbers.
Exactly.
And those numbers are products of mathematical equation that deals with the distance of the universe.
Exactly.
Radius, arc, diameter, of Earth, Moon, Sun, Saturn, so forth. Our ancestors are all that. Our ancestors are all that in a bag of chips. You know what? I would lay my body on the ground and let my ancestors walk on me.
Come on now.
There you go, brother.
Yeah. Go ahead, Julie. That's why I love this brother. He studies. I remember years ago, Julie has a degree in sociology stuff. And I remember he was preparing Julie for the ministry. Yeah, at the community church out there in East Camden. Yeah, because he was so intelligent and studied and everything. Julie came to the round table. I sent him back to his ministry with, I think, about 7 questions. Within a couple weeks, Julie, you see the way he talks right now? He's been that way since '93. He put on his Teflon skates and never stopped. Never stopped. Me and Julie just come to my house, and these belt bags here, I need some handles. Talk to me till morning, and studying, going to the library and getting books and studying for years and years and years and years and years. And I thought I was a bookworm. That brother's a bookworm. He works it. And I'm really so appreciative and proud of him because I've known and I've seen and I've watched him develop from the naive, extremely intelligent, naive, being prepared for the ministry, and as soon as he asked poignant questions to their ministers, he shook their foundation. But he could no longer fit. Because now he had substance. And that brother right there, that man right there, you think he's enthusiastic when you see him through his classes? He's been that way since 1993. Yeah. That's right. And Julie said, because I prepared these lessons for my children, he said, you need to share that with the public. And that's when we started doing that with the public. Abdullah Otulib Mosibe. Give him a hand, y'all. And like I said to him before, and I say it to you now, you know, you'll see his literature there, and he got about 4 books coming out this year.
Yes, I do.
Do you know how much of that is a reward for me? To see him come from the naive, then get ready to have him help with the mind control of our people.
Yeah.
And he's taught children, thousands of children in school, thousands of people around the country. He's been and made contacts with Masonic orders all around the country and woke them up. They thought they had degrees till he walked in. Oh yeah, I'm serious. I'm talking about people who are masters and potentates of lodges, and duly walked in there and smashed their degrees by telling them what they got and then took them higher. Again, give Julie a hand. And he's always busy. And of course, I'm busy, but I'm always going to take the time to acknowledge him because I appreciate him because he didn't sell out. You know, just like years ago, they offered me thousands of notes to publish these books and to modify them. As a matter of fact, a down payment of $250,000. No, I'm not for sale. And we publish these from the desktop. And I'm still wearing cheap sneaks because I'm not for sale. And I appreciate that brother because he's been made
and I'm not
offers,
for sale.
And he's not for sale.
$1 million can't buy me.
You
10 million
right.
can't buy me. $1 billion
and the
can't
way
buy
that
me.
enthusiasm that you see right there, I've watched it over years. I watched the little babies come, and I watched somebody had little girl, Tamsin. And you talk about a jewel in love. When Julie with Tamsin, the world disappears. And I love that too. You know, and she loves that too. And that's my personal that's you know, I can't express the reward of watching him and watching that, and he never died. As a matter of fact, you know, people be telling me, hey man, how come you don't ever get tired? I ain't gonna never get tired. But look at that brother right there. If I go anywhere on this planet or another planet with someone representing the honor of the Moorish Divine National Movement, if I chose anybody on this planet, it would be that brother right there. Because he is just as sincere can be. He's so sincere that it burns people, which makes it even better. Because that means he got the light of the sun in him. Thank you again, brother. I'm thanking you. Keep up the good work. If I stop today, I don't even have to worry about it. And Julie got this. Any other questions? Anyway, we want to thank you all for coming out to the House of Reawakening Minds.
Especially in this weather.
Yeah, especially in this weather. I mean, it's like wild out there, but y'all came out. And to our little mothers here, and remember, no matter how young you are, you're still our mother. Because that's the real culture. Yep. And the real deal is that if the women don't have it, we can't fix this thing. Nope. And that's not just a lightweight idea. But I particularly want you all to understand that from nativity, to be born, comes nationality. And any man, woman, or child who refuse to confess their own have no right to any inheritances. And this is what has happened to us. And so the divine rule is honor your mothers and your fathers, that your days may be longer upon the earthland, which the Lord thy God has given thee. And this is all about your lost estate. And the prophet Nobudrawi came to restore to you your lost estate and tell you the truth about your names, your nationality, and the truth of your religion. And I trust that we've done some things to help, and I hope you have a comprehension of what we presented to you, and that we've given you some tools that you can expand on your own, not following anyone, being yourself, and getting together with other people with free and allodial thinking minds and build and make up for a lot of things that have been lost to you for the generations before you who have sold out. Don't sell yourselves out. Understand, do not sell yourselves out, for you are the heirs to the world's largest estate. Islam.
One other thing, this was in the announcement that went out, the text message. Some of you are on the text message list, but just for those listening who might come to visit and those who are here, we effective immediately, Grand Sheik will be stealing paperwork on the first and third Fridays from 5:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. before class. He's not going to be doing after class. When class ends, he's going to get the chance to leave and not stay here till midnight, so I can leave too. Islam.
All right. Peace, y'all. And again, give Abundance a hand for hooking us up. She be making sure. Yeah, she be making sure we together. But she already know they poisoning us. So she be tired and she be working hard, but she comes out to make sure that we got good food. And just like man eats not by bread alone, man don't just nourish his body with wisdom either. So we need some good food. Thank you for that, Abundance. Give her a hand, too. All right. Now, Dr. Naila,
Yes.
the thing that I want to make them aware of, you know, when I do lesson book 14A1, which is the other half that I've held out for all these years, I held it out because I already knew this time would come, and also to counter some of the operatives on our side of the nation. So I'll make sure that y'all have this, because the complete other part will be issued from the House of Reawakening Minds. All right, so be looking for that. We'll have that in the hard copy.
As well as flash drive.
Now, anyone who wants the flash drives, see Dr. Naila. If you're here, go ahead. Get on the mic.
You will be taking some.
Yeah, I'm going to take some to Kentucky, Lower Egypt with me.
Okay.
Yes. Also, I want Brother Abdullah. Yes. Man, God sends greetings to all the Moors down here and to yourself. And I did an Edamon degree in a private gate school in Queens the other day with children, and we took the American Heritage Dictionary on English language up there, and the Webster's Dictionary in 1838, you know, the early dictionary, to show them, you know, the truth of American, etc. We were received well, and I'm sure that many of the teachers and the principal, they were re-inspired, and the children did a lot of good work up there. And I trust in the future I'll be back up there again, making sure they advance in their knowledge. But again, I wanted to thank those sisters for coming out with Mom. Go ahead, give them a hand, y'all. Keep in mind, because you're going to have to teach your friends. You know, because they pretty much think they got it going on. But as you all can tell, we don't have to convince you that it's clear that our people have been miseducated. You know, but we don't want you to believe it, we want you to know it. And we don't want you to follow anyone, we want you to be liberated. Make that very clear, all right? All right, so we're going to try to make sure that you have the tools that you need to advance, and that you don't grow up into the world and produce children and have them belong to the corporate state not knowing it. Are we clear?
Clear.
All right, and I think we got a clearer understanding of public and private. Mm-hmm. And when you really comprehend this thing, you can see a lot of people are taking advantage of people who really don't know all of the history. And they think that you can buy with some package sovereignty. You can't be bought. It's unalienable, which means it cannot be sold or transferred to another. Therefore, how do you apply for something that's a divine right? You must claim it. You must be it. Like the Prophet Ali says, be yourself, Lord. Stop trying to be somebody else. Islam and peace. Thank you, Tan, for the great work that you're doing in the background and the great assistance that you've been doing. Sis has been in the background a lot of times, helping on so many fronts. And I'm going up here, because I want you on the mic. Yeah, come up this way. Come up this way. Because I want them to know what we're talking about. Go ahead, Dr. Naima. Tell a little bit about the sacrifices the sister's making. She'll be making work in the background.
Well,
also, she'll be helping Julie, too. This is a brainchild. But you already know how to say, behind every good man is a good woman. And it don't mean that she got to be your mate. It means what women do anyway, because women make things work. And I want to give her a hand for her great work and her great sacrifices in the background. Give her a hand, y'all. Thank you.
Really appreciate the work that Karen's doing. She's helping me a lot.
Yes.
A lot with what's going on here in the House of Reawakening Minds. And I think we talked about it the other day, and she said, I know my purpose. And this is what she said. And she said to be in the background and to support. I mean, she's degreed up, but she's humble too.
You know, yes. And, people should be given credit for the work.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And remember this, freedom is everybody's job. So don't think because we share this information and we sacrifice our personal time to try to share information with you that other people lock away from you and get paid to do it too, which is why they don't like us. However, understand that this responsibility belongs to all of us, because the birthright belongs to all of us. Are we clear? And I do honestly feel that it is fair for me to say, even with the few documents that we've shown you, that we need not be naive about thinking that people didn't know this information, you know, in politics. Any level of politics, any level of politics. And logically, any of their black leaders that they send into communities, pumping that black thing, is to remove you off this platform so they could do these things to you and not be in violation of international law. Are we clear? So remember this, our prophet Noble said, help me in my great missionary work, bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government, enforcing our Constitution for the United States of America. Have a good night. And I want to also thank my cousin Dre. Dre's temperament. He's been studying for a minute, and recently we ran into each other when I had to do a lecture at Nichols Bookstore in Brooklyn. And at first, and then when he started telling me about his grandfather, I said, that's because you're my cousin. When every brother comes, he always tries to make sure that we're all right. But I want to say this. It is people, like with the spirit that he has in, the enthusiasm for truth and honor. When you see that coming, you already know that those are the people that the great spirits send to really do the battle in honor. And the interesting thing is, I'm not saying because he's my cousin, I'm just saying because I see that spirit in him, you know. And if you can get people to come into the movement and really comprehend that this belongs to them, this is not ours, it belongs to them. That's the concept that we want all of you to have, so that you can take up the mantle of truth for yourself, for the generations that come before you, and for the generations that come after you. That the children don't have the struggle that we have. What good is it to be in the struggle if you have no marks of achievement in that struggle that you can measure? And again, I want to say one more thing when Abdullah presented to you the metrology principles of the layout of the planet and your major temples around the world. This is why all of your mounds around the world are laid out at nova points. And all of your major nova points on the earth, the European usually tears down buildings and put either military bases there or golf courses to keep you away from them. Are we clear? So understand, when they talk about those tools that are used to measure the earth measure, and the spiritual geometry, etc., those are sometimes referred to as Jesus' carpenter's tools. And when they say Jesus was a carpenter, and he wrought with Joseph and others, they're actually talking allegorical about the tools of the universe. Are we clear? Clear. Again, good night. Have a good one. Peace.